Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Marie, Hairy Blade, it makes me chuckle every time, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open-Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burned Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Henrik86, Liam Nedrick, Owen Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another huge, massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. I'll raise the mic on whoever is in Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Good morning there. That was a good ending to the show yesterday. No? Yes?
Excellent ending to the show.
What
Hey,
was
say your boy.
Can you remind us? Sorry, Neil, I'm talking all over you.
Hello there.
Hello.
Say hi.
You want a reminder?
Yeah, I can't remember what happened.
Well, virus came on and made a claim, and then wanted us to explain the claim that he made when we asked him, when we went in depth with a few questions about angular momentum. And it was, I was going to ask you today, would that have been a non sequitur on his part where, let's see, I wrote down, if the lamppost is not moving, so it's not retaining angular momentum, the effect is induced by you moving underneath it, is how we came back at him. And so he was changing the subject, or he was saying something that didn't follow the premise of the earlier statement. Would that be a non sequitur on his part?
Yeah, if it's completely non-related, then it's a non sequitur.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
I can't remember what he said though, so I can't identify it as a non sequitur or not. From memory, he just failed to concede. In other words, he conceded all points up until that point logically, and it was only because he originally declared what Coriolis effect actually was. He detailed it accurately. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, we'll take you through the steps of what would imply on an Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour. But you just used a roundabout instead of Earth. You know, and the example of the thing not attached is actually cemented into the ground in the form of a lamppost. But he accepted every stage. He understands that he's turning towards the lamppost, and it's the effect of you seeing it seem to come towards you that's the actual Coriolis drift. You know, and that's obviously analogous with an Earth that's turning and you turning underneath stuff. But when it comes to that concession, obviously he appreciates the parallel between the analogy on a roundabout with you turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour or otherwise versus Earth turning underneath. Now, as soon as he draws that parallel, he just shuts down and won't make the concession, because should that ever get recorded, he'd get the level of abuse that we often detail that both sides are subject to from the globe side of the argument. If you're a glober, you might very well, like a virus, be subject to quite harsh ridicule simply because you've conceded a point that they definitely don't want conceding, even though it's logically consistent and you've conceded to every point building up to it. So based on that, he's just not going to be able to concede because of the ridicule he would receive as a direct result.
Yeah, good summary. And when you use something concrete in the ground, other than, say, a plane that's flying straight, it still is you turning underneath something else that gives that apparent deflection.
Yeah. To have Coriolis, you're turning underneath stuff. So that's it. Now, it's a very simplistic argument when people understand it, because to be turning underneath stuff would give you the drift that they imply we have. Now, obviously, they've got to obfuscate and deny the drift that we say we've got on a turning globe Earth, because we don't have it.
They're trying to say because there's no cost. It has to be with something moving.
He came in saying conservation of momentum.
Yeah, he was off base. I'm talking about what they say as a whole. They can't use the lamppost because that has no cost.
It has nothing to do with the lamppost.
We know that.
You're really muffled.
That's what they're trying to say.
Can you? I can't decipher quite what you're saying. I know one of my ears is blocked up badly, but I can't really hear what you're saying. I don't know if you can be less muffled somehow.
Oh, I had my finger on the mic. I'm sorry.
That's much better.
What they're trying to say is, because that has no movement, you can't use the lamppost, because for Coriolis, you have to have the Earth spinning underneath, and the thing that deflects has to be moving. That's what they're saying.
No, the thing has to appear to move because you're turning underneath it. The Coriolis effect is a not actual deflection. So the not actual deflection is Coriolis effect. The two are the same thing. Well, that's got nothing to do with the actual course. Now, if it has, by chance, got an actual course that's straight, you'll see it seem to curve. That's also part of the Coriolis description. But to have Coriolis, you've got to be turning underneath, observing something not attached. It's just that simple.
Yeah, because they say, excuse me, we're moving around the sun. And so that's why you used the other day the sunset and shining under the bottom clouds as Earth-based Coriolis. Then you're saying the same thing there. They're saying that the Earth is moving to cause the sun to look like it's moving, but really it's the Earth moving.
Yeah, they got it all convoluted anyway. They don't know what they're talking about. We know this. And even a come virus with that, he didn't even know what angular momentum was. Just spits it out of his mouth because maybe he Googled it or he heard somebody say it.
Well, most of the time when you parrot something and don't know the argument backwards and forwards, you get stuck like he did.
That used to be Nathan's little pet.
I mean, I was just about to speak fondly of how he's here in this arena, because he's obviously in cognitive dissonance. He's on that path, or he wouldn't be here. I often say that in a generalisation about a lot of them. Now, some of them come with disdain and anger and ridicule and vitriol. He doesn't necessarily. He comes with a bit of a jokey, as much as he knows where to draw the line, he knows where he's going to get abuse from his own side if he does certain things. He's generally doing it a little bit tongue-in-cheek, wouldn't you agree? And when I say many a true word spoken in jest, and in his case he says, I'm just here to learn, like it's a joke or a get-out, I think that's actually true. I take him, I treat that as sincere. Now, maybe I'm naive, but I don't care. It's no skin off my teeth either way, how I view that particular individual. So you saying in a derogatory fashion, he's my pet, it's like, well, no, it just seems like a reasonable, normie guy. That's all I'm saying. It's not like I'm fond of a cum virus. I'm not.
I just proved my point.
Oh, fuck you.
Listen to him.
That was quite good timing, though.
It was excellent.
Humour is all in the timing.
Conservation of momentum. Well, they are describing it from the object rather than from where they are, and this is the confusion that they're trying to cause there.
Oh, they're just
But I like him too. He's okay. I don't
Conservation
have a problem with a cum virus.
Again, Neil?
I don't have a problem with a cum virus. He's okay.
Exactly. That's all it is. You couldn't summarise my position and feelings more accurately. He's all right. He's just all right. He's not a complete dick. Well, by their standards, that's quite high up, wouldn't you agree? Given their very, very low standards. Does that mean he's the kind of person I'd take out for a beer? No.
Now, speaking of assholes, that Indian kid started becoming one yesterday.
Yeah, we've got to respect the 5 stages of loss, right? Anger is the second step.
Yeah, Nathan, a New Yorker gets right to it. There's no stages for a New Yorker in a conversation.
I'm talking about him accepting the loss of his fear belief. He's on that road too, right? Well, denial. We already know. He's already come and expressed denial on the show. Now, you could say being on the show is third step along wanting to debate it, but in terms of his cognitive expression of where he's at, he's saying, we already know it's a sphere. We already know the distance to the moon. We already know we've got a sky vacuum. So, in other words, he's already at the denial stage. In my opinion, he's at step 1. And then you're describing the anger, right? Becoming a bit of an asshole. Yeah, probably getting angry and expressing it and projecting it onto everyone around him. Yeah, I bet. But ultimately,
I think he's going to be around again.
Ultimately, overall, he's at the bargaining stage, though, isn't he? So, roll on depression and acceptance.
Well, that's what the show's all about. You get all kinds coming here to debate it, whether they're sincere, well-studied, or just want to be a jerk. They all come here.
Yeah, it's my favorite part. Definitely my favorite part, when they come on and they get smacked right in the face with reality and they don't know how to handle it. I love it.
Like I said, New Yorker.
Yeah, a lot of people have commented on it, and it's intentional. The amount of vitriol we have to suffer from our opponents as flat earthers, and it's carte blanche. Even people who are generally decent people will have an instinct to automatically ridicule, poke fun of, demean us as flat earthers. Now, that isn't a sweeping generalisation, that's just a fact. Well, when it comes to us actually knowing their rhetoric better than they do and taking them to task on it, and they feel the need to, while that's going on, still cling on to the idea that they can ridicule us because we're just stupid. That's normally what's going on during a debate between Globe Earth, Flat Earth on Flat Earth debate. And I take that opportunity to say, okay, the moment that happens, you're going to get the full venom. No, you don't understand. Might seem like a fairly innocuous statement to most people who are watching, but it's not. It's a, you're thick, I'm not, I know, you don't, after an explanation of how their argument's pulled apart, normally with a lot of interruption from an arrogant person that doesn't really understand their own argument very well, as is so often the case when there's a winner and a loser in a debate. Now, we're winning. They're very angry about that on the whole, but it doesn't change the fact that they're still here in debate. They're at the bargaining stage, and I think that's the crucial bit, right? They're going to come and they're going to want to know why they're right and we're wrong, but they deserve to be treated how they treat us. If they're going to come in and ad hominem and say, oh, you just don't understand how the heliocentric model I believe in works, that's their baseless assertion ad hominem attack. It's like, well, you're going to get the fury. You're going to get humiliated, and it's going to be people to watch that and enjoy it because they're so used to being ridiculed and humiliated by that side for nothing at all, for not doing anything most of the time. Yeah, I'm a flat earther. Oh, you stupid idiot. All right, well, they're going to be so used to that when they see somebody who's had their argument taken to pieces and then uses that tact, have their ass handed to them and be humiliated by someone on their own side, that's me, then they're going to love it, and they do, and they tell me. It's like, well, yeah, fine. You want a bit of vengeance, I'm more than willing to get it when it's justified, because I've got to toe a fine line. If I just did that carte blanche, oh, you're a globehead, right, I'm going to scream and yell at you. No, that wouldn't go over. It wouldn't be tolerated. It'd be tolerated on their side all day long, but for me, it's much, much more specific in terms of our words, our arguments, how precise we are about every single detail, and how we behave is all under much higher levels of scrutiny. So if I did that without actually having a winning argument to justify something as a genuine attack on their stupidity rather than an ad hominem attack, that's the level of scrutiny we have to adhere to. We're held to much higher standards, given far less promotion. It's a much harder job to be a flat earther. But when you get a win, I'm going to rub it right in their faces and let everybody on my side cheer. Why not?
Yeah, back to Coriolis, if I may. So I think one of the key things you are using these days in describing it is when you say 15 degree an hour drift. And when Ed came on, the show Wednesday, the 14th. I've got notes here. He was claiming that the sun shining under under clouds could not ever happen on a flat plane, but only on a turning globe. And this is where you really got him on that. So you want to go over if it turns underneath in the sunshine and hitting the bottom of the clouds, that is talking about 15-hour drift, nothing to do with the object, the sun.
Yeah, it's the projectile in its actual motion, in this case the sun, isn't the effect that you're observing. It's you turning underneath. The Coriolis effect is you turning underneath something. So in the case of their claim with the sun, it's a Coriolis claim. Most of them don't realise. That's a Coriolis effect they're claiming. You turning underneath the sun to have it appear to move because you're actually moving under it. Now, when you boil it back down to that as a very simplistic description of Coriolis, most people actually get that even in the heliocentric paradigm. You turning underneath it. Now, that's claimed for everything. It's claimed for a second, non-inertial, spinning reference frame, turning underneath stuff not attached. That's Coriolis drift that we observe in these things that aren't attached. Unfortunately, we don't observe it. Other than the sun, nothing else appears to be drifting at 15 degrees an hour, but that's precisely what they say should happen. They even give examples with pathetic things that are in the air for 2 seconds, like footballs or bullets, and say, yeah, we are turning underneath, here you go. Like, no, drones would drift away at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. Helicopters would take off, hover, and have a different country come to them. Same with hot air balloons. And as you travelled west, you'd have the Earth turning underneath the plane, shortening its flight time. Because it's claimed to be turning underneath. That's their rhetoric. Now, fortunately, this 15 degrees an hour drift that I tied down Ed with was down to Simon Dan. I can't take all the credit. And Bob, to a certain degree. Everyone who's coming into my chat now and saying a 15 degrees an hour drift, thanks, Bob. It's like, that's what we're now trying to promote, my friend. We're pointing out your rhetoric is your rhetoric, not ours to be debunked like Simon Dan the idiot did. Yeah, it's your 15 degrees an hour drift, that's right, that doesn't get observed. Now we've got the actual argument and the person claiming the correct thing to claim. They're claiming 15 degrees an hour drift. They parrot it non-stop in the comments. It's great. I even put heart on it, one of them, not realising it was a troll. I was like, yeah, make sure everyone's clear because he's saying 15 degrees an hour drift. I'm like, yeah, that's what they need and haven't got. But they used to use it like it was an attack on us. Yeah, 15 degrees an hour drift. Yeah. What, as Earth turns underneath stuff not attached? We're not observing that.
When Simon Dan says you and your reference frames are ruined, he's killing his own model.
Yeah, killing his own claim, killing his own argument. That's why I trimmed out a video from yesterday's show saying he's got to be at number 1, top dumb baller, because there's no reference frames for us to claim. They're never going to pin anything in that respect because we're not claiming the Earth should turn underneath stuff at 15 degrees an hour. But they are. And Dan comes along and destroys the whole lot with you and your reference frames are ruined and an example with no drift. Like, you couldn't get more stupid.
It sounds so stupid when they hear their own argument that they say it's stupid and they realize later that's their position.
Tony called me about this morning. So he's like, what's the deal with Simon Dan? Has he actually responded to you? And I'm like, no, he hasn't. He's like, oh, it's getting on a bit now. And I said, no, it's worse than you think. This is a year old. And over the course of that 12 months, I've consistently made videos addressing this because he hasn't responded to it. Now, what seemed to be a response, I gave the very accurate declaration that he thinks his subs are stupid because he gave a non sequitur, didn't address it. So this is now a year of me saying to Dan, whose reference frames are ruined? It's not like this is a new occurrence. I might have ramped it up a bit, but ultimately speaking, Dan is still yet to address this a year later. Seems like beyond embarrassing.
He can't address it. How's he going to address it, Nathan?
Yeah, he's stuck.
I mean, maybe I should trim this out and say exactly that. Look, Dan, it's been a year. You've tweeted me saying reference frames ruined. You've shown me an example with no drift. Our argument is that you should see drift and you don't, and you're showing us an example without any. Now, we need clarity, because our argument is very simple. You claim, you claim Earth is turning underneath as a second reference frame, yet you've tweeted me, quote, you and your reference frames are ruined. Now, I don't have any reference frames. It's been a year. Do you not think your own subscribers, who've seen a year worth of me asking the same question, deserve a response? If not, you clearly think they're stupid and are only here to bleed them dry for ad revenue. Because you're not actually responding to a subject that you're attacking on and then making a full retreat for a solid year, only offering up a non sequitur in the meantime. Now, do you guys not agree that if I was a Simon Dan sub, I'd expect him to respond to this and address it directly a year later, given that it's him proactively putting it out there to me? It's not like I've chased after Dan. He proactively goes after flat earthers, including me, in this instance a tweet directed at me, proactively attacking me about a claim I don't make, and his side very specifically need to occur with a second reference frame. So that needs addressing. A year? Come on. It's pathetic. Simon Dan, you coward. When are you going to address it? Is it going to be 2040? Simon Dan is still yet to address his egregious error. How can I put more fine a point on it, guys? How you help me put more of a fine point on this to Dan? It's been a year. Clearly, I'm not getting through to him.
Didn't Rumpus come in to do a little bit of saving of Simon Dan, and something to the effect that he responded in text saying, "I do believe in reference frames"?
That's the problem. He must. He's telling me you and your reference frames are ruined, and when put to task by Dan, or indeed the High Priest Neil deGrasse Tyson, who very specifically claims we have Coriolis effect on a turning Earth, we're supposed to be turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour, that's drift. Very specifically, things drifting away from one another because we turn underneath. That is Coriolis. So for Dan to come along and debunk the very notion of a globe Earth that spins by showing no drift and declaring the reference frames are ruined, that damn well needs explaining. And when Rumpus says, you better believe in drift, he kowtows to him immediately and says, yeah, Rumpus, I believe the drift. End quote. So, yeah, he believes the drift because it's part of their rhetoric. So why on God's green earth is he tweeting me, telling me the reference frames they claim on a globe Earth that spins are ruined? Surely that needs a bit more explanation than saying, hey, Cat's got you on diffraction. Is that not blatant non sequitur to his audience? He must genuinely think they're thick.
Well, if the tables were turned, Nathan, and you didn't respond to something and you were pulling the nonsense that he's pulling and not responding to it or giving an answer, I would unsubscribe from you, to be honest. That's what I like about you. You always have an answer for it and you don't shy away from it. Even that time with Globebusters. I know it had to be hard, but I gained a lot of respect for you.
Well, other than you continually bringing it up, Neil, generally that's mostly forgotten about. I'm now fighting the good cause for, Bob, in terms of you and your reference frames being ruined. You know what I'm talking about here? But you keep bringing it up, mate. I'm sure that'll help iron out any animosity between the two.
No, I'm just saying he should respond. He owes his fans, or whatever you want to call them, he owes them. He can't just be silent on the matter.
I agree. I think it's cowardly. You know, an explanation is required. You proactively chase someone and then they go, hey, you've attacked me and debunked your own claim of Earth turn. A year later, that surely should have been addressed.
Well, Ed should be mad at him because Ed said the sun shining on the bottom of the clouds could never happen on a flat Earth. Ed should be mad at him.
Where is Ed anyway?
He just ruined Ed's reference frames.
Where has he been anyway? I haven't heard him.
Ed, I don't know. He's in the comment sections in the repeats of the that particular show. So,
no, I say stick to the 15 degrees. It is just another synonymous to Coriolis anyway, because that's what they claim it is. The Earth turning underneath. We just stick to it, and they look more silly and silly trying to separate themselves from it. And no one looks more silly than Simon Dan saying you and your reference frames are ruined when he's talking about his own claim being ruined.
Did you intentionally add the stutter?
No, I actually stuttered. I actually did stutter. It's early in the morning here.
If you listen to that show with Ed when he brought up the sun, you could hear in his voice that he realized he was trapped. Beautiful.
Oh, I pointed it out at one stage. Absolutely, he knew how badly it was going.
That's for sure.
I think they all do. They're flailing in the comments, and they're not appreciating when they say, "Thanks, Bob, for the 15 degrees an hour drift." It's like you're clarifying the position we're debunking now. Good. That's how it needs to be. Your side says 15 degrees an hour drift. Keep saying it in my comments, fundy trolls. I really do appreciate it. As I said this morning, yesterday evening, accidentally hearted someone thinking they're on my side because they're clarifying 15 degrees an hour drift is what you need, fundies. Again, bringing the whole thing with Simon Dan to a head. You, on the globe side, need 15 degrees an hour. Stuff drifts apart from one another. You turning underneath, seeing the thing that's not attached, drift away. That's things drifting. So Simon Dan coming along and saying, "Look, no drift! You and your reference frame's ruined." That's absolutely devastating. We're still yet to respond to it in a year, unbelievably.
Not to change the subject, but we gotta, an astronaut just came back from 6 months stint of the ISS. So he's back on Earth.
They never left Earth.
I think they're doing something. I think they're sending these people in some virtual thing, and they really think they're going somewhere.
Nah. They're blatantly hard-stuck liars. No.
That was funny,
How
Neil.
many times have I recommended Dilly Gill? Have you gone and watched him? I bet you haven't.
Yeah, I did. I know. But I went on a ride in Disney, and I'm telling you, I thought I was in Africa. The only thing I didn't do was touch any of the elephants. I could have sworn I was there. It smelled like it. It looked like it.
I'd stop talking if I were you, Neil. I could easily say something very derogatory right
now. Oh my gosh!
No, but think of the technology. Maybe they.
Neil, just go.
All these
Neil,
guys
too much, man.
What's wrong with them?
Stop digging.
Digging the hole, Nathan. He's digging the hole.
Looks so real on TV, though.
I was going to say a pound. I'd say the next thing he says is, "I was convinced by."
The guy looked genuinely that he landed, and he was happy to be back on Earth. I mean, I was like.
Okay. But in hindsight, Neil, where was he claimed to have been? Coming back from where, sorry?
In a place where it cannot exist the way they tell us.
And where's that exactly?
In space.
Oh, the sky vacuum. Oh, right, yeah, fake place.
A violation of what natural law?
Second law of thermodynamics. Yeah, if the sky was a vacuum, as they claim to be returning from, then the gas would be filling that area, as per the second law of thermodynamics. The sky is not a vacuum. If it was a location he was returning from, then the gas we breathe would be able to fill that availability of volume, and we wouldn't have any gas to breathe. We'd all be dead if where he was claimed to be going and coming back from was real. We're not, so his claimed location was fake. There's a light in the sky they call the ISS. I've no idea what it is, but they claim it's a tin can in a sky vacuum when they show you the cinematography of Men on High Wire. Shout out to Dilly Gill. DILLYGILL. Subscribe today.
Yeah, I got him. I subscribed to him. I watched some videos. He's really good.
Yeah, but Nathan, Neil saw it on TV.
Saw it on the telly.
Yeah, and I'm saying in hindsight, it doesn't matter about how convincing it was, how the cinematography presented itself. They're travelling to a fake place. They've said that the lights in the sky are a sky vacuum. No, they're not. Outer space is fake. So everything from here to the Voyager's destination in a claim to be fake medium is all immediately fake. It's really easy. So it doesn't matter how convincing their cinematography is. Bubbles in space, who cares? There is no space. So let's not worry about whether or not they got bubbles in it. The place defies natural law. So let's not argue about rockets in space, or ISS in space, or satellites in space, or orbits in space. None of this stuff's real.
They keep putting it on TV. So what are they doing? They're what's the word you use? When they got to keep putting it out there and keep putting it on social media.
Conditioning you?
Yeah,
they're keeping the conditioning going.
Well, how about the guy the other day who agreed, at least to my memory, that you need the antecedent for gas pressure is containment, and then I can't remember. I have to go back to my notes, but then he was arguing about either, well, show me the dome, or and he said, well, it doesn't matter. It's the antecedent, some kind of containment, or you can have gas pressure. And then he kept saying you can get out after admitting that the only way to have gas pressure is containment.
Yeah, that's the Indian kid, BT Avenue, I think, the one that was claiming asteroids and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was something about. Yeah, I think it was about matter coming in through a closed system, but matter not going out of a closed system.
Well, he started to put words in Nathan's mouth, and then you got them when there's a pause, and then they say, "Well, show me the dome, show me the container."
I'd say look up. You got gas pressure.
Again, on a optimistic vibe, I'd say at that point, although they're not expressing it to us verbally, cognitively they're saying, well, I want to know what the container is. I know you can take it as, well, they're demanding we show them what the sky is when we obviously don't know what the sky is. But we know we must have containment, and then they say, show me the dome. I hear, so you've now got the same questions I have. That is the crossroads. It's like, at that point, you can either go, wow, I don't know what the sky is. That's exciting. Or you can go, you tell me, mister, you're taking away my paradigm. I deserve, that's your path.
Well, the antecedent for gas pressure is containment. I don't have to show you a container. I just have to show you gas pressure exists.
Yeah, gas pressure is the proof. Can't have gas pressure.
I don't see how they can get around that. They can't get around that. They cannot get around that. They cannot get around the black swan, and they cannot get around Coriolis. They're screwed.
Yeah, that's why it's
from top to bottom.
Top three. Some people are now saying, which makes my heart tingle, or whatever the phrase is, Coriolis should be number one. Top argument. I'm sure you've said it as well, 10th.
I've always loved Coriolis, but Neil was the one on the other show the other day saying he thinks it's number one. But I've always loved Coriolis because I keep it so simple, even before all this stuff has evolved to this point. Because I'm saying, well, if the Earth is turning, then the Earth is turning. How come it's not turning on the helicopter or that's hovering or a drone? It's over right there for me without going deep into it. But what's happened since then, which is a couple of years ago, is we've gone deep into it. And it's just the way you summarize it, even stronger.
Right. That's what it is. Nobody ever questioned. It was so convoluted, nobody even talked about it. Because when you say, well, you could think about it and say, well, wait a second. If we're spinning, how come when I jump, like I don't, no, the Earth and atmosphere move together. But now, on the further investigation, thanks to guys like you, now we're seeing what it really is.
Yeah, it's supposed to turn underneath. When you point out it doesn't, they say we wouldn't expect to see it turn underneath. Let's just clarify that just once. So the claim from the globe side is that we turn underneath at 15 degrees an hour. That means Earth spinning underneath stuff that's not attached. That's the claim globers actually make. That's the rhetoric. Confirmable now by Neil deGrasse Tyson saying the ball takes a deflection because the Earth's turned underneath. Now that effectively means the goalposts have moved and the ball effectively travelled straight but looked like it was curving from the stands. So that's his affirmation that the claim is Coriolis. He even puts it in the title, and that's you turning underneath to see things seem to drift when it's actually you turning underneath, you and the goalposts. So that's their actual globe claim. Now when we say to them, in simple defence of that, so Earth's turning underneath the ball to drift through the goalposts. So if I jump, I leave that spinning reference frame like the ball. So Earth would turn underneath me like it turned under the ball then. Now the same applies with things with a longer hang time. Drone, you shove the stick up, let it hover, and Earth should turn underneath it like it turned underneath the ball. So you point that out to a globehead. Earth's not turning underneath anything at 15 degrees now, Mr. Globehead. Obviously we're not spinning, Earth is flat, we're stationary and not spinning. And they go, we wouldn't expect to see 15 degrees an hour drift. That's their rebuttal. You're like, but you claim we have drift. We wouldn't expect to see it. That's their response. Now, up until now, that's been used as though it's us claiming we should have drift, and it's come to a head with Simon Dan, because he's gone, look, no drift, reference frames ruined, and we've gone, we don't have any. Enough of this nonsense with you debunking us trying to point out your own rhetoric to you. We don't have any reference frames to debunk. Unlucky Simon Dan, because you've cocked up in such a way that lets everybody know, with the affirmation from Bob, or claimed to be from Bob Nodell, that we're all supposed to be seeing drift at 15 degrees an hour. Earth's supposed to be turning underneath. Well, look, no drift. That's our argument. You and your reference frames ruined. That's our argument. So well done, Simon Dan. Welcome to Flat Earth. You're affirming our argument. There is no drift, as Simon Dan shows. And reference frames used to claim Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour are ruined. Excellent.
Hey guys.
Hey, Flatzoid.
Speaking of Flatzoid, what happens when you jump up? Does the Earth turn 460 meters under you?
Not in reality. I land on the same spot as far as I know.
Yeah, but it's supposed to turn at 15 degrees an hour. That's how many meters if you jump up?
460 meters about. That would mean if I jump here, I'm going to hit into the wall, or a pole's going to hit me, or something.
If you are on a claim to be spinning Earth with Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour, as they claim is the case, but what Flatzoid's saying is he doesn't experience that, and nobody does.
No, but what did I read the other day? You have to decelerate 1,000 miles an hour first at the equator.
So no drift then?
Correct.
Well, they claim there's 15 degrees an hour drift as Earth turns underneath. That's exactly how the argument goes. Look, no drift is our argument on the Flat Earth side to debunk the claim we have 15 degrees an hour of it turning underneath stuff, not attached. So no drift, we say. And they say, well, you'd have to decelerate it to the rate that the Earth's spinning and the Earth and the atmosphere together spin together, so you've got no drift. What, in the face of a claim that we do have 15 degrees now and they drift apart? So they're not drifting apart, so no turning Earth underneath then. No Coriolis effect. And that's how the stand will be from now on, thanks to the clarity from Simon Dan. No drift, reference frames ruined. Good job we don't have any on the Flat Earth side, and the Globe Earth definitely do. 2 reference frames, Earth turning underneath, 15 degrees an hour, things drifting apart. What's that example? Oh, check it out, an example with things not drifting apart, as is supposed to happen on a globe. Well done, Simon Dan, you debunked the claim Earth spins.
Well, I could bring it personal because I never even knew about the Coriolis. What was it, 1986, when I was shooting a rifle and trying to hit a dime off of a crab apple when the sun, shined on it from about, I'd say, 100 yards away? I never adjusted for Coriolis. I never even knew about Coriolis.
Well, what does that say to you?
That's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, well, if Flatzoid jumps and if Earth is turning, which is the ballers claim, 460 meters would have to pass under him. That's about 1,550 feet in feet. So if you're shooting at the target, you'd have to aim away from the target 1,550 feet and allow that target to come from west to east to you. Whoever does that?
Nobody for anything.
Now, the guy
ever.
that taught me how to shoot.
Nobody's doing that because Earth isn't turning underneath stuff that leaves. They do claim Earth turns underneath bullets and snipers have to account for Coriolis effect because they claim Earth turns underneath the bullet. They also claim Earth turned underneath a football. But Flatzoid's jumping up and down and Earth isn't turning underneath him, and you can launch drones and they don't have Earth turning underneath them, and you can travel in a plane and Earth doesn't travel underneath it. So there is no Earth turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour. Nobody's experiencing this effect. Doesn't happen. They need it to if Earth was turning. It's what they claim proves it. But it isn't experienceable. Nobody's experiencing it. It doesn't happen. We don't have 15 degrees an hour drift as Earth turns underneath. Earth is not spinning.
So it's better.
Sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to say he did tell me that because he taught me how to hunt for deer, and he explained that from a certain distance, you got to aim a little above because there's going to be some drop at a distance, but he never said anything about spin.
Yeah, well, that's velocity. It's losing momentum, the bullet. So depending on your shot and other conditions, the wind that day, and if it's hot day or cold day.
Right.
And don't forget that the bullet also has a bit of magnus effect. Very minimal, but that's about it.
Say that again? It wasn't clear.
The bullet has a bit of a magnus effect. Very minimal,
Magnus?
but effect.
What's a
Where the
mag?
bullet spins because of the barrel. The barrel.
Oh, yeah,
the barrel.
exactly.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Platzoid, Chocolate Saiyan, 10th Man, Neil, Paul, did I miss anyone? Brian, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello, hello.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
afternoon.
Hey, everybody.
Great to be here.
Oh, that's a very warm welcome to all of you in the Discord and G Plus panels. I normally get an interruption there. Fair enough. Any evidence of physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, not even from the driving range.
You do get slope angles, but that's not geometric radius, though.
Any more for any more? Earth curve? Anybody? Anybody at all?
Well, you can't see it. Neil deGrasse Tyson says you can't see it from 128, 50,000 feet, something like that. I've never seen it from a plane at almost 40,000 feet. I've never seen it. I've never seen the Earth curve.
You can't
That
see
the
math
astronaut
from
seen it.
You can't see math from a plane. Thank you.
Math? I got.
Yeah. Yeah, the geometric horizon only exists in the maths. There is no physical geometric sphere edge horizon for us to see. Not such a thing exists. It only exists in the maths. Chocolate's right.
I bet the
Not
astronaut
even-
that left the ISS seen it.
But it doesn't even exist in the math anymore, thanks to the Black Swan.
Hold on, I think Neil has got something tailing off from the pre-show. What was that you say, Neil?
I said I bet the astronaut, after his 6-month stint on the ISS, landed on Earth today. I bet
ISS?
he's seen the curve of the Earth.
Okay, so what's the ISS?
International Swimming Station.
I know where this is going, and where is it supposedly? It's in a violation of the second law of thermodynamics.
Well, there's two. There's two ISSs. There's one that's been labelled that and is a light in the sky. There's also one on a sound stage with men on high wire that claims to be in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. Now, one we can see, it's a light in the sky. The other is claimed to be in a sky vacuum. Therefore, all of that version of events from that soundstage with the men on high wire, who are liars, that is automatically fake because it's claimed to be taking place in somewhere that doesn't exist. 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, outer space, which is fake. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Just look at my screen.
No.
That looks
If you have volume, you have containment.
that's a nice container. What's the purpose of this, Arwin?
I don't know. It was
Show
just
the other one, Arwen.
yeah, but that one was edited. This is really as is.
No, it's not.
The retard chamber.
Those were.
So it's
Yeah,
designed to
it's a
slow
fire
the
rate.
gas-
Okay, I'll show the other one. Let's see if here. See?
Look.
This is not. This has to
Yeah.
be edited. This can't be real.
No, it's not because there's a company named Globe that does that.
What?
Yeah, bro.
No way.
So you're showing containers
Yes.
because containers.
Right.
Okay, fair enough.
Remember the Bob the Science guy? This is the proof. There you go.
Okay.
But do you see what it says on the container, Nathan? Though.
Globe retard. Container.
Yeah, globe retard chamber.
It's
Chamber
retard.
model.
No, retard means to hold back. That's what retard means. To retard. To hold back. So the globe bit is the company name that makes the product. To retard is the function. Chamber, obviously. And then it gives the model number.
Well, maybe they're just putting the spin on it.
Yeah, it's just the way it's put together that actually.
Yeah, globe,
just wondering-
retard chamber, model. Oh, yeah.
What is retarding? What is it retarding? I'm just wondering.
That's the
Flame
globe. They're
retarding.
retarded.
Gas, probably slowing it down by making the area that it has to fill bigger. It's Boyle's law.
So it's not
Okay,
gravity retarding it?
You have to context some of this stuff or people will get very confused.
I look at it like anyone who believes in a globe model is a retard and you should put them in a chamber.
No, that's not what it means. Okay, look, and hold your prejudice aside, right?
Okay, well, other than this, no proof for gas pressure without a container.
Other than this
Sorry.
subtle and amusing aside by utilization of several layers of humor. I love it.
All right.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
Globers.
I was going to say, come on, Discord.
The guy yesterday was talking about how far away everything was, and remember that?
No.
Was that yesterday?
How far do they claim the sun is now? What's the heliocentric claim?
They just base it all on R.
I've heard they shot a radar at the sun. That's what I've heard.
As we're going to ask for distance to the sun and we're going to get into the details, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius. It's utilised to assume Earth's a sphere, then assume Venus is the same size sphere as Earth is assumed to be, so then you can apply Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion. That's a right mouthful.
There's a lot of assumptions there.
Yeah, there is. So any evidence of the R value, the most critical one.
Black Swan.
Yeah, the glober would say we know the distance to the sun.
Yeah, but we know all the assumptions they've employed to get there. So, what, just chant their fundy belief at us? Right, 10th?
Right.
Yeah, that's what they do. Circular reasoning all the time.
Yeah, how did they establish that knowledge? Is there any touchdown in reality somewhere? Right?
Oh, you had to segue it back onto the tangibility of the sun. We don't know what it is. It's an intangible.
Well, like I said, they've shot a radar out there. If it bounces something back, that means it's something tangible, right?
Out where? Oh, God, we've got to do this again. Didn't we just cover gas pressure early? Out where now? Up where in the what now?
Well, Well, I mean, it's away from us. So if I'm shooting something at it, I mean, it's out there somewhere. I didn't say where it was at. I said it's out there somewhere. I didn't say where it was at.
And where is there? And what is there exactly according to them? How much higher pitch do you need me to go?
Oh, it's supposed to be a sky vacuum.
A sky vacuum, you say?
And I just actually just thought of something. So can radar bounce off of gas?
Is there helium in the air?
I don't know. Paul's just utilised his ability to non sequitur away from him being a baller temporarily. Cognitively, even this is painful for you, right? Non sequitur needed. What was that about bouncing stuff off gas? And the sky vacuum is gas, is it? Go on, Paul.
Did somebody open a helium tank over there?
Go on, Paul might actually have a finale. That's the one.
You cannot bounce radar off of gas, I guess. Bounce it off solids and liquids, but you can't bounce it off of gas.
And it's going through gas, is it? Or do we all just go high-pitched and then forget about it? You're doing a good job of pretending to be a glober. You always do, Paul.
What do you mean things don't bounce off gas? I thought they were bouncing off.
I'm talking about radar. Radar. They're talking about radar. They said they saw the radar out there at this thing that looks like it's in the sky. It's supposed to be either plasma or gas. I didn't think plasma or, you can't bounce radar off plasma or gas, can you? I didn't think so. It's a gas ball.
Off gas where exactly?
In a second law of thermodynamics violation place.
So we're assuming it's gas. We're assuming it sits directly in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. And we're assuming it's in a sky vacuum that we can measure stuff through. So the medium is wrong. The item we're looking at is assumed to be something in violation of natural law. This is complete nonsense. It's a pleasure discussing it, though. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah. Love it.
Moving on. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope, I land on the same spot.
Oh yeah, we discussed this in the pre-show. So become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. That'll come out on Sunday on the second channel. Or if you don't want to give me money, which is perfectly understandable, you can still see it a few days later. So subscribe to my second channel, link in the info box. But that discussion was primarily about the complete cock-up on Simon Dan's part, mainly because Anthony Riley and I were discussing the fact that this isn't actually a new occurrence. It's a year old, and I've consistently been on Simon Dan's back to address his egregious error. Now, obviously, I've ramped things up in the last couple of weeks, but by the same token, it's a year-old issue that's still yet to be addressed. Any evidence? Go on, or is it Donald something? Don? Go, Don. You're flashing, but I can't hear you, my friend. Well, maybe not. Moving on. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
The sun's cousin.
No, I think it's more likely we'll find dinosaurs down there in big caves than a molten iron core.
Just get a sound.
Wait,
Hold on
so-
one sec. Just one sec. Can I get a sound check from Discord? Anybody? Ryan, maybe?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, cool. Wanted to make sure it wasn't my end. Okay. Sorry, whoever I interrupted. Arwin and Chocolate.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think it's more likely we'll find giant caves with dinosaurs in them and weird creatures than a molten iron core. Because, yeah, if there are things down there, that does not necessarily directly imply a core, even though, was it Jules Verne who did that story, Through the Center of the Earth? You know, to suggest it.
So you're saying Jurassic Park is underneath our feet?
I think that has a bigger likelihood than a molten iron core. See?
Yeah, why not?
Core kind of
go with that.
auto implies the globe, which is definitely not the case. So, yeah, there could be things down there, but I don't think there's any huge lava mass that basically encompasses practically the entire surface of the Earth beneath us. No.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Reification fallacy.
Good answer.
Scientific evidence of a conception?
Yeah, that's right. Another good answer.
What's the speed of a gravitational wave?
I don't know what you're babbling about. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Give him some time, Nathan.
Boom, boom.
Well,
You're on fire today.
And a little bit of space.
I just have to shout out 10th Man on his latest video on science. Thanks. I'm sending it to every globe I can get hold of.
Let's spread the net. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Well, Dr. Becky says she does it while listening to iTunes and responding to email.
Well, how can you do an experiment if you're just looking in a telescope?
Well, she's looking at a computer screen.
Oh, she's not even looking at a telescope.
It might be a picture coming from a telescope, or said to be, but she's doing science. How's that science?
How's she manipulating her independent variable?
We're not even asking
With the
for
escape button.
We're not even asking for that, though. Same go to you, Neil. We're not asking them for an experiment. Just a viable hypothesis. Not validated. Not experiment. Just a viable hypothesis. From any of them.
Well, what would be the error margin? Can they be off by a factor of 10,000?
It's not like that's a viable independent and dependent variable now, is it? Off by a margin. That sounds very mathematical, Arwin.
Damn it, you caught me.
But we're not looking for conclusions, is my point. A viable hypothesis is a supposition yet to be validated in scientific vernacular. It's a scientific prediction. We're saying, give us a scientific prediction. You don't have to validate it. You don't have to give us an experiment. Just give us a valid prediction. A valid scientific prediction. That's a hypothesis. A cause and effect relationship. That would be a dependent variable. They've got plenty. They've got plenty of phenomena to study. Then, the presumed, yet to be validated, cause of that effect. In a supposition that is capable of validation. That would be your independent variable meets the 3 criteria. It's real. It's your presumed cause, and you can actually bloody vary it. Right? So long as you've got that, it's presumed to be a cause, it's real, and you can vary it. You've got an independent variable, that would be a presumed cause of an effect that they've observed, and they observe plenty. So it shouldn't be that hard to get a valid scientific prediction. Not the validation, but just the prediction, just the independent and dependent variable, alternative and null. That's it. That's all we want.
You can't manipulate something you can't touch.
You're assuming what they're going to do. I'm not putting words in their mouth. I'm not saying you can't vary gravity. No. Nothing like that. I'm not telling them what the independent variable, yet to be validated presumed cause of the effect they're observing, and they've got plenty, should be or shouldn't be. I'm not saying that it will or won't be the cause. We just want to see a valid scientific prediction from any of these, let's get it clear, pseudoscience fields. They're just any valid hypothesis. That's it.
Okay, so Nathan, I might have... it's not going to turn out to be the hypothesis, of course, the missing hypothesis, but way back in my Flat Earth talk shows, one of the earliest episodes, me and Robert Shortman were talking about like this NASA document we plucked off the internet somewhere, where they were describing how to use lasers to basically write in the plasma in the sky or something like that. So they could create celestial phenomena almost. That's kind of what they were describing with that. So could that maybe be defined in a scientific method, since they are actually manipulating something?
And the thing that they're manipulating is a man-made phenomena.
Laser made?
Laser made.
No, I didn't do this. No, it's fair. No, I don't mind.
The light?
Clarify what the dependent variable is going to be. And now Aaron's rumpusing me. I didn't clarify what the DV had to be. I just clarified what the independent variable had to be. I just said, they got plenty of phenomena. Well, what's a phenomena? Well, something occurring in nature, something happening. Well, they observe plenty, right? They show you stuff happening all the time in the sky. Well, that's a phenomena. No worries. They've got plenty of DVs that they can be investigating and formulate a hypothesis for. No problem. Well, it shouldn't be. Right? Am I wrong here? Should be easy. They call themselves science, right? Scientific prediction, please. Doesn't even have to be validated. Don't even need the experiment.
Well, since Arvin started it with math, they're always going to be a fraction off.
Exactly. Boom, boom. That concludes the housekeeping anyway. Feels like a Friday. It's not.
Almost there.
The fact that this goes out on Saturday for most people is irrelevant. Oh, that reminds me, I should really announce that. If you're watching this and it's not live, you won't be watching a replay of the live show. So I'm going to turn it off Thursday and Friday because I actually replay them throughout the weekend. So this show, together with the pre-show that we discussed earlier on the live show, with the after show, which is yet to be filmed, unless this is coming to you from the future, they will be available to members only until they're released on the second channel. So you've either got to subscribe to the second channel or become a member to actually get the full show. But even the live show, if you're not watching it here and now, tough luck. Thursday and Friday shows are going to get turned off once they finish broadcasting live.
That's okay, because even if we put it out on a Saturday, your audience will not get the weekend of the argument.
You're on fire. But yeah, so the majority.
So this one will go out Saturday?
Exactly. The majority of people who are watching this are actually watching on Saturday.
Reminds me when I first found this show. I used to search all over. I'd get show here, show there. There'd be 2 on Thursday. Oh, it was so exciting.
I pumped out about that level of material in the last month. Needs must, I don't mind confessing. It's because the revenue dropped, so I react to that stuff very instantaneously as soon as I see it happening. So I've pumped out more videos. Now, people might go, I just thought you loved us and wanted us to be entertained. Well, yeah, that is the truth of the matter also. I am a YouTuber. That is the primary purpose of what I do. But ultimately speaking, it was reactionary, which I don't think I've ever denied. I don't think I'm fairly open about this stuff. So yeah, I've worked my ass off over the last month just because I've had to. But there we go. When people around me are telling me, the interest in this subject's declining, it's like, well, there is currently something on people's mind aside from this subject, which is fine. That's going to happen. But for me personally, that's not the case. I'm doing quite nicely. I've increased my figures. My revenue might be down, but my numbers are up. So look on the bright side. Happy days. So, I might be scraping by, but ultimately speaking, in terms of a look on the bright side situation as a direct result of working harder, my stats are great. I'm doing really well and better than ever, in fact. So people come in and assume that I'm following the trend of everyone else in Flat Earth. Now, I don't actually know what that is. I don't track that because it would drive you nuts if you make those comparisons. But when people make them for you and show you, you go, ha, well, that's not me. Happy days for me and my channel, because that's not what it's doing.
But Nathan, what about all those people that say Flat Earth is dying for the last 5 years on a daily basis in our chat?
That might be true, Arwin, but first and foremost, this is where I can smile about this statement. Sometimes I'm embarrassed about it when everyone's all on the same point, everyone's on the same song sheet page or whatever. I'm like, well, first and foremost, I'm actually a YouTuber. But when it comes to this sort of situation, it's like, oh, right, the subject that I cover isn't getting as much popularity as usual. Well, I'm here as a YouTuber to entertain the incredibly dedicated audience I now have. That might be because of censorship or whatever, I have no idea. But ultimately speaking, I've got a very dedicated audience that want more. It's like, a lot of YouTubers would kill for that.
That's correct. I remember my wife used to say,
yeah,
but you listen to the show already. I'd say, no, this is the Uncut and After show.
Yeah. It's really a compelling show. I catch myself watching to multiple restreams. And they're getting better. They're getting more fluid. We're all getting more secure with what we know and what we do and how we conduct ourselves. The code of conduct in general is getting better and more consistent. So yeah, this show is just very compelling, I think. I love re-listening it.
a byproduct of all this is your premieres, which are great. So when you're cranking out these little segments, whether they're 5 minutes long to 20 minutes long, or maybe a little bit more, that fills in the gaps. And those are little short snippets you can be sending off to people like I have. So I think it's got a result that maybe you didn't intend, but it's there.
Well, that was the reaction thing as well. People saying they wanted shorter clips, they, for whatever reason, presumably same boat as me having to work harder, haven't got the time because they've dedicated more time to earning finances where they weren't getting them for obvious reasons we're not going to discuss on the show. But those people haven't got time and they want a clip because they still want to involve themselves and are gutted that they can't sit through an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes of a show. And who can blame them if they've got limited time? I found myself in the same boat. I'm like, I want to watch my own show, as sad as that sounds, but I do. And yet I'm editing a different clip and I'm thinking, I can't do both. And heartbreaking, someone was like, I sent you a big super chat and you didn't even thank me. Well, I'm really sorry. I was just so busy. And I am, I'm working very hard. But talking of super chats, I'll just do a quick shout out to you. Is it Kopanak? Hopefully I've said that correctly. Nathan was enjoying life on his sofa. Oh, that sounds bad. He was one happy man. And then Scam Man Dan comes along to frame and ruins his own religion by destroying his own reference frames. Thanks, Dan, and the rest is history. Yes, indeed he do. I don't think Dan's actually impeded my happiness. I think he's helped it. So long term, thanks. Okay, no, can't give credit where it's due, but Bob Nodell has cemented everyone's minds of what we're supposed to see now. Not because he's claiming it, but because that was the overall theme of how their argument for turning Earth has played out. Blame us for their lack of having Coriolis drift. Put it on someone that's in flat Earth, because then you can keep the argument going when you debunk the lack of drift that they don't see. Well, now we're all clear. 15 degrees an hour drift as Earth turns underneath. Drift being stuff that's not attached, drifting away from you as you turn underneath it. So, excellent. We've got a really concise understanding of what the globe Earth claims should happen. That's turning Earth underneath as a second reference frame. And then roll up, Simon Dan. You and your reference frames are ruined. With an example that shows no drift. And on a globe Earth that's supposed to turn, you're supposed to have drift. And we don't. Now it's all clear. Excellent.
Yes, he did, Neil. He did answer.
Has he answered?
With a red herring, remember?
No, but has he answered since? I mean, he owes his audience.
He can't answer. He doesn't understand angular momentum.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Brian.
Nathan, just on that point you're making there, excuse me, about people not losing interest in flat Earth, that's people who are saying that are not. They're not thinking. What's happening is flat earthers are less and less going into channels into hangouts like Jose's because the ballers are becoming more and more irrelevant. The rank and file ballers, and even the more higher up ballers, but the rank and file ballers, they're becoming more and more irrelevant. That's one of the main reasons why people think that flat Earth is losing its gusto or whatever. The other reason, though, is something that's a flat Earthers' fault, and that is when the whole situation we're in now turned up. A load of flat Earthers, even ones that were around for years, fell into the trap of going off and talking about this and making videos about it, and giving that relevancy. And they moved away from flat Earth. Not that they weren't flat earthers, they just stopped making flat Earth content. And that is also a big factor. So it's not that flat Earth people have lost interest in flat Earth, it's that flat earthers went off and made videos on a different subject that they should have just left alone. And they also are more and more not going into places, hangouts like Jose's, because those people are becoming irrelevant to us. They're not helping anymore. They're no good. There's nothing they have for us. So we move away from them.
Not helping not helping who from whose perspective? Not helping the globe side from their perspective? Because for me, when I hear that, I'm hearing Simon Dan being irrelevant to the globe side on account of the fact that all he's doing is debunking their own arguments now. Well, is that what you mean? Or do you mean irrelevant to the flat earth side because they're not offering any arguments to actually claim the Earth's a sphere anymore. Whose perspective? From whose perspective?
Yeah, but, well, no, I'm saying from our perspective where they are becoming irrelevant to us. We don't need them anymore. We don't need them like we did a year ago, 2 years ago. We don't need them now. And so they're having to do stupid things to get attention. But that's the problem. We don't need them rank and file people anymore. They've outlived their usefulness in a lot of ways, or they're in the process of. So that's what I mean by that.
Okay. People on the panel, do you agree? The globe tard. Go on.
Not necessarily, but they've certainly outlived their strategies. That's for sure. But yeah, the Globers, in their own way, psychologically, test us just as much. So I still think that having Globers around is worth it. It's just that, yeah, for us, it's become like infinitely easy now to just recognize what's going on with them. And it's not in what they do among themselves is not really that interesting anymore, unless they think that they're smashing flat Earth with some ridiculous argument that actually contradicts their own model, of course. But other than that, yeah, they still try to test us, and that's always good. If everybody would be like, yeah, flat Earth, yeah, sure, then how much attention would we be getting? I don't know.
Well, what I would say about that is that if you play a video game and you get past a level, let's say you get past level 5, do you keep on playing on level 5 or do you move to level 6? And that's where we're at. They are still around. They're not after becoming totally irrelevant, but they're in the process of it. I personally have lost interest in talking to them. There is nothing they have that's worth arguing about, because all they can do is circle back to the same nonsense they always circle back to. The same stuff they can't demonstrate and they can't prove, they don't have scientific experiment for. So I don't know, from my point of view, I just see them as becoming kind of drifting away into the darkness kind of thing.
Yeah, they are. But it's still good to behold this, to see the result of their choices or where they've ended up, Never let any mistake slip you by without learning as much of it as you can, even if it's not your mistake. That's my concept around it.
Well, I think it's becoming high time where there's going to be a lot more people, because flat Earth is a lot more accepted, there's going to be more people in the next 2 or 3 years coming out as flat Earthers who are in high positions in careers, let's just say. And I think it's more of a case of we are heading towards more higher level mainstream science, like the likes of... Sorry, Nathan? I was just saying the likes of Professor Brian Cox is not going to be able to keep on avoiding us. D-Day is coming for him, and all the likes of him.
Well, look, the mainstream wizardry guys that really play into the believers that want to believe. Look, the believers that want to believe are still going to keep on listening as long as they can maintain their suspense of disbelief about reality. So, yeah, they'll just keep carrying on, but they're not going to win over the flat earthers anymore. Not that they technically ever did.
That's why people like Simon then are kind of irrelevant. Because even if he, all right, he's put himself out here into this argument, into this, well, I don't want to say debate because he doesn't really debate, but he's put himself into this topic, right? Well, even if he destroys himself and his reference frames and all his arguments, right, his followers don't need to hold on to him. They could just turn him off and just find some other clown that's a globe proponent that could just spew their ridiculous rhetoric all day long to confirm their bias. They don't need him. He's nobody special, right?
Yeah. All they do is just watch it to, like you say, make themselves feel better. That's all.
And what does he do? He just goes to Google, spews out the first thing that Google says about their globe, and then regurgitates it to his followers. So they don't need him to do that. They could just cut out the middleman, go to Google themselves, and confirm their own bias.
Adam.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Adam.
Good to have you.
Hey, Adam.
What's up, man?
I think we need him. I think we need to remind us where we've come from. Excuse, I've had another dental extraction, so excuse the dodgy voice. But I think we need them there at the moment. As badly as they're behaving, as poor as their argument is, we need them there for the newbies to see that this is the best the ball has to offer, and that actually all they have is religious faith in their ball. And we're talking observations or any science that sits quite happily on our side. And when they go into these arguments and you listen to half an hour's chat where I'm obfuscating with Nathan, it becomes apparent even to a layman that the ball has nothing. So I still think we need them. We personally don't, but I think the forum does.
Yeah, good answer. I agree.
Yeah, me too. That was basically another way of saying what I tried to say. There's so much we can and should learn because we were there. And if we get used to our newfound insights too much, we might forget how tough it actually was to get there. So it's good to remind ourselves by confronting ourselves with the people that haven't reached this.
And you spoke to that, I was always thinking, we can, we must, we do.
Think of gravity as a force.
We do.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Hey.
Hey, Tony.
Have you?
Hey up, Meekin.
All right, mate.
Hey,
Meekin, have you got Fight the Flat Earth stuck between your teeth? Have you been eating food before you come in? Because you sound like you're struggling with like something stuck between your teeth.
I had a filling and 2 teeth out, and I literally, honestly, I'm like John Merrick at the moment. I'm not an elephant.
It sounds more like you've got Fight the Flat Earth stuck between your teeth. You know, like you need to floss a little bit.
Yeah. I was going to say something, but I held back.
I was just wondering, guys. You were talking about how Simon Dan and gas pressure, and how he's not addressed that point. Sorry, axial rotation, and now he's not addressed that point. Let's not forget about Conspiracy Cats, who's also been ducking and diving for the last 2 years about the gas pressure point. He does not want to answer it. He did say initially that what did he say now? Gravity. He said that gravity pulled it down originally, but then he said that you didn't need to have any container. After saying things like without the balloon there can be no pressure, and a few other comments that he's made basically supporting our assertion that you need some kind of balloon or container of some kind because we've got gas pressure. Well, where's that gas pressure come from? And he's completely swerved that for a good 2 years. So it's not just Simon Dan swerving, it's Conspiracy Cats too. We need to pin these points on people more often because they're really detrimental. That's why the ballers can't join the hangout, Nathan, because they know they're going to die. That's what's going on.
Do you think I should put a bit more focus on the fact that Simon Dan hasn't responded for a year?
Yeah. And Conspiracy Cats, don't pin them both together as sheep in the same pen.
I like quoting him. It came up a few weeks back, and I'm like, yeah, it works really well in quotation marks in a chat. But you're right, it only works because he hasn't addressed it. He's dodged the question. How can you have gas pressure without a container?
I noticed that he did respond to that point. I'm on about Simon Dan. He did what looked like a hurriedly responded video, like he was on the go. And rather than address the point, he made some like nonsense insult up instead to avoid addressing the point, which is what all the ballers have got to do. They can't address the point on topic. They've got to move away on off topic and say something stupid like, oh, do you drink your own piss or something stupid like that? Well, address the point. Stop making excuses about not answering and swerving around the topic with some kind of insult instead, which is the classic textbook definition of ad hominem. And how's about actually answering the point? Because then we can all go home, right? Can't have gas pressure without a container. And then your model's debunked. Come on, Simon Dan, address it. Earth turn, same thing. Come on.
Yeah, I agree. He owes his subscribers. There's people subscribe to him, and he's not coming up with an answer. Looks very, very bad.
Cat said
you must think his subs are looking for an answer. I doubt that.
Cat provided a definitive statement on that. 2019, Nathan, didn't he? Without the container, there can be no pressure.
Correct. He's got 2 quotes. So Anthony's given the first one: without the balloon, there is no pressure. And his second one from 2019: without the container, there can be no pressure. Conspiracy.
Yeah, but there's now a third one though. When Tommy Hench went up against him and he asked him 18 times, "How do you have gas pressure without a container?" After the 17th occasion of swerving, ducking, diving, swimming around it, jumping over it, doing everything possible to avoid answering the question, eventually he did answer the question and he said, "You don't need one." That's his third statement. Do you want me to get a clip so you can hear it?
If you've got one, I'll play it.
I'll dig it out. Give me 2 minutes.
No worries.
Yeah, because I remember he said that he would come back to it.
Didn't he first try to rephrase the question and say, "Oh, you guys have been asking the wrong question. You should phrase it. How do you have pressurized gas without a container?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's within the last few months. That's the most recent. Well, we've got them in chronological order, at least.
Well, look, I always said if somebody came with a question and put Nathan against the wall and he didn't come up with an answer and he was chucking and jiving and trying to get out of the way, I would unsubscribe. I expect an answer. So these guys should expect an answer. On the other side, I'd want an answer.
You're right, and we discussed that in the pre-show, and I totally agree with you. But now I've heard Chocolate point out that, and I thought about it after Chocolate said it. Yeah, his people aren't looking for that. They're looking for confirmation bias, right, Chocolate?
Exactly. They don't need to go to him for that. Like I said, he goes to Google and just spews what he looks up, right? So they could do the same thing. All they're doing is looking for that confirmation from somebody else to do it for them. So they could look and say, "Oh, look, this guy's got all these subs and all these subs agree with him. So my agreement with him must be valid. So everything's gravy," right? Yeah, if he gets debunked or if he gets made to look silly, they don't care. They could just turn him off and go to the next clown.
Yeah,
they got plenty.
For comfort.
If for comfort, the most of the time, the majority of the time, they're actually seeking the base level confirmation bias, which is that flat earthers are stupid. So the ones that do the best are the ones that say flat earthers are stupid, right in the thumbnail.
And Nathan, I've sent you that link in Skype. If you just, it's time stamped, ready to go. So if you just open it up and just move it on screen, everybody will see it. This is like 17 times of swerving it. And eventually he answers the question, and listen to his answer now. So gone are the days when he said, "Without the balloon, there can be no pressure." This is literally what his position is now. He just says, "We don't need one." It's brilliant.
It doesn't actually come with the timestamp. What was the timestamp?
9:45 towards the end.
Lives. This is why gas pressure is pinned against UCATs. First.
How do you get the pressure first? Well, there's no need at all for a container to get gas pressure. It's like, how do you get the gas pressure? You have the gas pressure by having gas there.
My God. Thanks.
Just by having gas. By having gas, you therefore have pressure.
Yeah, I've got news for you, conspiracy cats. Without the container, there can be no pressure.
Yeah, fundamentally, that's incorrect, isn't it? That last statement. The others I'd agree with, but fundamentally, you can't have even the air around you. You wouldn't have the return vectors without the container. It's the container that creates the multitude of vectors, all directions.
Correct. You wouldn't get the return vectors, no. You would only get like the odd random molecule randomly passing by every now and again, because it's eventually you are going to get hit by a molecule in the infinite volume of space, because there will be something that eventually hits you. But it'd be like buses. You get nothing for ages, and then you get 3 in 2 minutes, and then you get nothing for ages again.
Yet, moreover, that's what it would be at sea level. We'd have absolutely no gas here at all, because it would have all taken a vector away from us and then dissipated into the vacuum of the sky. So that would be the situation at sea level, waiting for gas particles to move past us like buses that come every 15 minutes.
Yeah, but you would get the odd molecule bouncing off things like on their model, bouncing off things like the moon and Jupiter and whatever, and making a return path from that vector.
Yeah, but at sea level, we'd be at 10 to the minus 17 torr.
That's right.
But Warrior, that would actually be incorrect because of gravity. It would just go to the moon and stay by the moon.
It'd stick to it like Velcro.
No, you're getting confused.
Yeah.
That's what happens mathematically in a bending conceptual medium, Flatsoid. So, no.
Like we're going to just change the definition of gas pressure to just gas. Oh, you have gas, or you just have gas pressure?
Yeah, we have a moron in chat. His name is John something or other. Let's see if we can find his name quickly. He basically distinguishes against gas pressure with atmospheric pressure. And we all know how to deal with that. Just look at the definition for atmospheric pressure, and you can see that it's defined as both mass times by the acceleration due to gravity. Well, we know that there's no acceleration due to gravity, and whatever you want to define mass as, gas molecules have only the molecule itself of mass. They don't have a collective weight because they don't have any intermolecular bonding to make them have an atmospheric weight. So they're all individual molecules zipping around at high speed, bouncing off things that shouldn't be there because they've all zipped off into space. So there is no mass because there's no collective mass, and there's no acceleration due to gravity. But just because they've got a formula that they think seems to work, then that's enough for them. But when you apply the definitions, they don't like it.
Tell them 2017 call that wants its argument back.
Is the formula reality?
No, math is abstract.
Yeah, but if it works, that's good enough for them. Come on, Nathan. Keyword there was works.
Yeah, work. Yeah, hijacking of a term that in mathematical terms means can be calculated and in physical terms means does something. Well, that works.
Oh, right. So just because the math works, Nathan, doesn't mean it actually real world happens, no?
Yeah, just because you can add 2 and 2 together doesn't mean it can push a table. Work can mean very different things.
But if it works, Nathan, I need it for my religion. Don't take my maths away from me as well.
The maths can work as much as they want it to. It's just maths, it's abstract. But when they juxtapose maths working with physical work being done in reality, they're two different things.
That's a bit of a bummer if you think that triangles and like internal angles of triangles have got anything to do with science. Yeah, you can take your jabs at me about it, but it's irrelevant. It doesn't address the problem that we have. We see things accelerating, but you guys need a force, as Newton's first law of motion states, F equals ma in the second. An object in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon by a force. Well, you guys need a force to prevent those molecules from disappearing off into space, but you haven't got one, have you? So what's stopping the molecules from disappearing off into space and turning them back to make them fall back to Earth? Because you guys need a force, and you haven't got one.
Or moreover, now finally some synchronicity between these two arguments. Or moreover, what space? What space now? What space would it be filling, Anthony?
I think the name gives it away.
Space? A space? For gas to fill? Wow, is that great?
Yeah, Tony, don't forget that there is no force conceivable or actual that could ever prevent gas pressure from expanding in all directions to fill the container.
He's well aware, I assure you.
I love the fact as well that some people, even on our side, still don't like the egg test. Because however you want to interpret the egg test, right? By adding that mass that I did, the salt in the form of table salt, by adding that mass to the medium, it did make the egg move. So we can all agree that the egg did accelerate. That mass, the egg, did accelerate when I added salt. Now, you can argue all day about exactly what was the mechanics behind what went on, but nobody can dispute that by changing or adding the salt to the solution, it did cause an acceleration. Now, remember, in their model, mass is not a force because it's just a number, right? It's relative to something else. It's just a number. But in the real world, by adding just a number to the solution, it caused an acceleration of a mass. Well, therefore, there must be a force there. So you can argue about the ins and outs of it, but you can't change the fact that by adding mass, it did cause an acceleration. Oops.
Yeah, you see, that's why they squirm in weight is a force.
Can you turn that into an equation, Anthony?
Yeah, we can do the arithmetics or the maths for it, but let's stick with the empiricalness of the point. Adding mass did cause an acceleration. Now, Chocolate would normally pipe up and say, "Why did it go in that direction?" Come on, Chocolate.
Why did it go in that direction?
Oh yeah, because on their model, if you add mass below the egg, it would add to the mass of the Earth, and it would cause an attraction between the masses, and it should pull the egg down. But actually, for some reason, gravity had a day off that day, and it only decided to act on the medium around the egg and pull that down, apparently, and that forced an upwards thrust and pushed the egg up. So then the question is, well, why did gravity choose the medium to act on? I thought mass attracted mass, not mass attracted medium. They don't like that one either.
No, just address Neil's point. So, Neil, the difference is between qualitative and quantitative. So you can work out how much of something with maths, but the actual cause of the effect, the science bit, matters not how much of it. Once you know what's caused the effect, you've got an IVDV established with an experiment, you can figure out how much after. But you first need to know what the cause is. So the quantity of the cause, if you haven't got it, is irrelevant. And that's the difference between figuring out how much with an equation versus actually defining the cause of an effect that happens in nature. Difference between maths and science. Qualitative versus quantitative.
Yeah, maths is put in afterwards as a description value.
And Riley, you shouldn't downplay it. You should. It is an experiment. You were calling it a test, but it's an experiment. You had a naturally observed phenomenon. You had a valid hypothesis.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
But the problem is, Chocolate. The problem is, I'm gonna say something, and then I'm gonna counter it. We even have people on our own side that don't like it because they've got their preconceived position with regards to whether gravity is there or not. Now, no matter what you view or how you explain it, right? The bottom line is that it did something. That egg did accelerate, right? So when you start asking for what was the reason and all that, you get people on our side, like Bob Nodell, that still to this day denies that is what we say it is. It's the relative density disequilibrium that's causing it, because I demonstrated it. I've heard him very recently, basically denying that this is anything to do with debunking gravity. Of course it is. But the problem is, when Bob's right, we'll defend him. And he was right on the 15 degrees of Earth turn. And we defended him because he was right. But he doesn't seem to realize that when he's not right and he gets criticized for it, rather than considering the criticism, he should be listening to the criticism and then either debunking it or accepting that there's an alternative demonstrating the point. He just completely dismisses it. But the problem is he's got his following. So the likes of Nora and co, they'll support him because they don't want the relative density disequilibrium argument to be a valid, plausible experiment that demonstrates the cause of an acceleration to be something just like mass. They don't want that because they need to have gravity because that's what they think. They want there to be a gravity.
I don't know, Tony, if that's
whether
really...
Hang on. Whether there is a gravity or there's not a gravity, it hasn't ever been demonstrated. So unless they can isolate the cause by using, say, a tool called a gravimeter, perhaps, and they give that force that they believe that they're measuring a bit of a wiggle to prove that it is the thing that the gravimeters are measuring, how can you not correlate the gravimeter effect as simply being fluctuations between temperature or pressure or humidity, whatever, that's influencing the minuscule, absolutely tiny changes, fluctuations that they attribute to a force called gravity? It's nonsense. They correlate and they accept correlation, but they dismiss cause when I deliberately manipulated it myself. And they're on our side. It's like, how can what's going on here? This is ridiculous.
Hold on. Let's just, Owen, go ahead.
Yeah, look, it's not entirely correct what you're saying because they kind of do recognize relative density. They just call it density, the density laws or whatever. It's older. We're just working out the details utterly. The difference is they want to imagine that they can figure out basically why the axis, just like when we tell relative density, when you explain that to ballers, it's like, but why up and down? Why up and because it's not answered. And that's what they want to pursue. That's what Bob really wants to find out.
So let me address that. You say correctly that he says, well, why specifically that direction, not like 20 degrees or 73 degrees, why 90 degrees and 0, right? Why 180 and 0, why up and down? And the answer is because it's the same reason why hot and cold are linearly quantified with numbers. In the same way that temperature always goes colder when you remove the heat source, Bob's question is akin to saying, well, why does the temperature always go down when it's because we give it that number, that direction, because that's relative to us. Well, directions are also relative to us. So we perceive forwards and backwards, up and down, left and right, relative to us. That's why my right is your left, because they're not the same. But we have relative directions, and we give it that relative direction a name, and that's why it's up and down. Essentially, it's more dense or less dense than the medium that you're in. But Bob needs it to be up and down because he wants to claim that there's something influencing that up from down bias. But we know what it is, Bob. It's the medium. The density of the medium that we're in is very, very slightly off a vacuum. It's there, but it's very slightly off a vacuum, and that's the bias.
Yeah,
but hold on.
that's why they're
entirely complete, though. Because
hold on, just 1 sec.
We prove the forces, basically. We prove what conjures the force, what causes that, the relative density disequilibrium. But that process in itself explains exactly the cause, why it happens, and then how much it happens even. But it does not explain why the setting of these directions, and that is just more the only thing
Anthony
you can really go at this point is philosophy or
hold on before you go off on a tangent. Anthony just did, though, so it's relative to you. There are no absolute directions. It's all relative. Now you might be able to argue that the magnetic north is an absolute direction, but other than that, it's all relative. Anthony did probably the best and most concise job of describing that I've ever heard him do. It's relative. Your left hand being your right hand to the person opposite you. That's a very good way of describing it, Anthony.
But then the problem is that because some people want there to be a gravity or something influencing the bias, it's the refusal to accept that we can demonstrate this within scientific method, and the fantasy that you believe might well exist can only be done with exploring the world of pseudoscience or Narnia. That's the distinction between the 2 points. So whilst I'm happy to accept that Bob can ramble off with Narnia, at least I acknowledge that he's doing it in the context of pseudoscience nonsense. But Bob can't accept that we've done it within scientific method, and therefore it's got credibility to it. He just completely dismisses it. And that's completely that's unreasonable when we can all accept that there may well be something there, but if there is, we need to demonstrate it.
Well, that's how we can round this off.
He just moves on.
Just 1 second, Darwin. So that's where we started, so might as well round it off with that point. What's it to you?
It seems like it's controlled opposition from our own side.
God.
When we can demonstrate.
Way to ruin your own argument in one foul swoop.
No, that's the answer.
I see we can demonstrate the same way as Anthony.
He just loves gravity, Tony.
It's entirely up to him what he believes in. It's entirely up to him.
Can I just
what he
give a
believes in.
statement?
It's no skin off your teeth, and you appeal to the people who follow him. More power to them. What's it to you?
Well, I just find it a little bit obtuse that one that can be demonstrated within scientific method gets dismissed by Bob, but he's happy to pontificate around pseudoscience, but refuse to acknowledge that it's pseudoscience. It's like you're pushing the very thing that we criticise and challenge.
I've heard all that. Just what's it to you? What's no skin off your teeth, right? Just ignore him if it bothers you.
It's just that he's got an influence within people that don't have the brains to think for themselves and accept his word. And rather than accept his word, they reject the demonstration that's counter to his word. And those people are
hold on, just 1 second,
brainwashed.
I'm nearly there with Anthony. Do you remember the little pep talk that I gave Roxanne? You remember that?
Which one?
She was saying that the controlled op narrative of the media was the people were looking to them and seeing them as the people they should follow. And I said, well, you be the person they follow. You tell them what's what. If you were telling me, like you've told me in this conversation, Roxanne, I'd follow you. And the same applies to you. So, okay, who cares? He Bob, in no doubt, in this example, is the equivalent to what you're considering in your world, the controlled op media narrative that stands on the other side of the fence with the press pass. That's the equivalent. Well, be the person the people should follow. Don't concern yourself with those people on the other side of the velvet rope, if that's how you perceive him. So what?
Yeah.
Bob wants to be the smartest guy on the block.
Come on. Anthony reply, and then
Tony seems to be concerned about how many followers just follow in his footsteps. Well, guess what? Is it about numerics, about people expressing their opinions on what they believe? Or is a bigger problem that people just tend to hang with other individuals and their opinions instead of from bottom up constructing their own and then dare criticize other people for having an oppositional opinion? Is that maybe the problem?
I managed to get the last word. So with that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
What did you just say then? You've just got peace. What did you mean?
Oh, because they're all made up now. Everybody kissed and made up. I don't forget the shit I heard.
Bob Nodell is made up with Nathan.
Yeah, everybody kissed and made up. Everybody's nice and nice.
Really? So does that mean that? Where does that? I don't believe that. How can that be true?
Like decent human beings. That is what it means, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Hold on, let me just fill Anthony in. You know all about the situation between my making up in Neil's vernacular with Bob. You're completely privy to everything, and nothing has changed. Just so you know.
So there's not been a make-up then?
Well, there's not been an overt kissing and cuddling, and no.
I thought I should throw that in there.
Well, it's just Arwen used the phrase, whatever the phrase.
Fire treaty.
He pushes, grabs.
It doesn't change the point. He's still.
Hold on, it's gone from.
So what?
It's gone from bygones being bygones and people seeming to have moved on from it to everyone going, hang on a second, does that mean you've made up? Well, I object. It's like, well, not a lot has actually happened at all. In fact, all that's happened is Bob reached out for the third time, I might add. So he's reached out to me on 2 consecutive occasions with an olive branch, and I've told him to go screw himself, basically. On this third occasion, because there's been so much time booked between us, I've gone, because I'm indifferent, meh, okay, fine, I don't care, whatever, I've moved on. In other words, no hard feelings, and Bob's reached out to me, and I've kind of gone, yeah, okay, fair enough, whatever. And that's it. That's all that's happened. Now, does that mean that anything that has gone in the past has been forgotten by him, according to him? Well, not really, because now Anthony's annoyed with him for something that was perceived irritated back in the time when I was addressing specifically the Netflix drift issue that I'm now thanking him for. Everyone's clear that Earth's supposed to be turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour and all on the globe side, claiming Bob proved it, but we don't see it. Well, that's turned out nice. Roses from shit. Well, it all seemed very down and bad for Bob at the time, and he's even got me on my side attacking him for his lack of scientific validity when he claims he's got ether drift, and pointing out that instead of gyros with a pendulum, that means Earth turns underneath then, right? Now, on the one hand, he's like, yeah, you're right, that means Earth turning underneath, and we don't see any drift. On the, you haven't got any scientific evidence for this ether drift claim, obviously he didn't like that. Now, as a result, there's been negativity between us, but the bad blood has dissipated. That's the sum total from beginning to end of what's happened. But my point was going to be, thanks for tearing it all up and making it all dusty again, because that's wonderful.
Yeah, I've been... look, this may be all that is to Nathan, okay? But I've been hanging around in chats. I do that a lot, including like Globebusters. And before, they would be like suspicious to Arwen, or even like behind... It just got this feeling like they were calling me a troll behind my back because of this situation. Ever since Nathan done this, that completely changed around. And it's just a better atmosphere there. I can be in there without feeling like I'm being treated like a troll. So I am really glad he did that.
I can't be in there. They deleted me after one comment on chat. He's got issues with the boys from England doing these experiments.
What did you say, Neil? What was the comment that got you banned?
I forgot, but he banned me. Oh, I called it bobbity. I said, you and your bobbity.
Yeah.
He said, you were saying something about it, the boys from England experiment. That's not an experiment, and I take it to heart.
Yeah. I think he doesn't like bobbity, obviously, because it's personal to him. But he doesn't like alternative phrases that describe the same phenomena, because he basically argues for credibility. I've listened to a clip recently where he was talking about the credibility of the words that we use. And I'm like, Bob, what's wrong with the credibility of arguing about relative density and disequilibrium? He's critical of us on so many things. And I don't understand it when... That whether you agree or disagree with what actually happened in terms of why the egg moved, there's no dispute that the egg did move, right? So there must be a force, and it goes the opposite way to their model. That surely should be the point that our lot should be jumping all over. But when somebody like Bob on our side is going against that, it's like, what gives, man? Come on, this argument's been around long enough. We've been through it that many times. Every point that he criticizes it against has got a valid rebuttal that he just ignores, and he's still pushing it. And I'm like, what the fuck do you think you're doing, man? Honestly, he's an idiot.
Because he didn't come up with it.
It definitely seems like he definitely
came up with that egg experiment, he would have been the man.
That's what it seems to be, yeah.
You think it's personal because you demand with your egg experiment? Is that really what you think?
I just don't know why he keeps dismissing it all the time.
I can tell you. I told you a couple of times.
When you say he's dismissing it, do you mean like he's not accepting that what happened in the experiment happened? Because if that's the case, then I don't really get that. But I can see if he's saying, well, maybe we can experiment further to find out why what happened, right? Obviously, you manipulated that medium and you got your egg to move. So you validated your alternative hypothesis, right? Well, correct. If he wants to go further than that, then I don't see what the problem is with him trying to come up with a valid hypothesis himself for his own experiment.
But the problem is he denies that the thing that's defined as the independent variable, the presumed cause, is the thing that I manipulate. He denies that by me manipulating the density of the medium, he denies that was the cause. He wants that cause to be something else. He just looks past that. And I'm like, Bob, it's defined.
It up.
There's two problems. There's two problems. Number one, Bob wanted to solve gravity, be the man who solves gravity. But he didn't realize that gravity, maybe he still doesn't realize, gravity is not real. You can't solve something that's not real. The solving is that it's not real. That's number one. Number two,
Bob's, I can't speak for Bob, but I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding of what he's claiming with regards to that. I don't think Bob's denying the relative density effect. What and what I disagree with, he implies that within the intermolecular sorting, there is still a downward force. Now, he's not attributing that to gravity, mass attracting mass, but he is saying it's linked to the electromagnetic way in which things works, and this is what generates that downward. Now, he's talking about causation for direction of orientation.
Yeah.
Now, like I say, I don't agree that he still attributes a force to that directly, but there has to be something. But as Chocolate says, that's another step on, another point of further inquiry past the clearly defined and scientifically proved relative density disequilibrium effect.
Right.
I know what the vectors.
That's
I know what causes
what
the
I
vectors.
say. He just wants to move on. He wants to answer to why the directions.
I'm after saying it several times what causes the vectors. It's structural support. All matter is physical. It all needs structural support. It's just natural engineering. So matter, whether it be, let's say, whether it be a gas, a liquid, or a solid, it needs structural support. So it's going to go to where it has structural support.
That's
because
not right. Gas isn't bonded. We covered this a few
and
days
what he's
back.
going to try to figure out
I am correct
why.
about that.
My bad, Brian. I was to say, so okay, I can understand if he wants to go further from there and try to figure out why that structural support supports it in the way that it does, where a lighter object, will rise in a heavier medium. I get that, but to me, I feel like it's almost like trying to figure out why entropy happens, right?
Exactly.
We know entropy happens, but can we figure out why it does? Can that be put under scientific method? I don't know. You can try, and I'm not going to stop him or knock him for trying. But seeing him just deny what's going on in your experiment, I don't know if that's really the case. I mean, it might be, but I haven't heard him absolutely deny it. I just think maybe he wants a further explanation. But I can't define his thoughts. So.
That would be my understanding of where the situation's at as well, Chocolate.
Oh, God.
Mine as well.
But that comes back to Anthony saying the direction's relative.
Exactly.
They describe
that might not be enough for some.
So then further experiment and keep your mouth shut until you can find out what it is. All right?
Yeah.
Hold on. Direction isn't relative. Direction is very much set.
When we're talking about direction of orientation, there is a standard vector for density disequilibrium that applies. Now, proving that is a different matter, that's the same vector, but I think logic would tell us it is when we're talking about this. It's the way in which nature plays out does have a direction. I appreciate the relative directions, but in this we can quantify them and compare. And I think that's the point, that there's a distinct. We can predict 100% which way density disequilibrium will apply itself once we know those two densities and look at them. So there is that. Whether you want to confuse that with relative directions, I think is another point of confusion, because you're talking about two slightly different things there for me. You have to accept the relative statement, but like I say, we're looking at the way in which density disequilibrium plays out. Now, that's a statement that you can agree with, because that's exactly what Tony's experiment demonstrates, how it does, and we can predict through our understanding of cause and effect which way the egg will move. Why, again, comes to that point, which is, why does hot go to cold? It's another question. To try and conflate the two, I say, if I'm being critical of Bob, then you should just accept that is correct in terms of just density disequilibrium, and state that he's actually looking at the causation of direction of orientation, and that's where his postulations come in.
But that's where, but that's where Chocolate's question. It's like trying to say, why does hot always go to cold always? Yeah. Establishing what occurs always is just akin to a law describing what happens. That always happens. This is the description of what's happening. It's just a description of what you see occurring. Whereas when you get to the why does that occur, well, that's what science is used for, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, I got nothing.
Only
I
for
got-
what is, because we can't very manipulate them.
Certain
I got
things
nothing
have been
personal.
established, right? I mean, what? Just for an example, life rafts, right? Flotation devices, right? They create these things knowing that they are going to float on the water. So much so that they're called life preservers, because we know they will save lives because they will keep people from drowning. We know this. This has been established. We can manipulate it. We know that, right? So it's not something we have to go further to discover. Life is already working that out. You know, we don't gotta
Listen,
go further.
I got nothing
to do
personal.
that.
Chalk, I'm sorry. I got nothing personal with him, but
There you go.
first of all, he's pushing two things that he can't prove: gravity and freaking this mysterious ether.
Listen, let the dude push what he wants to push, man. I mean, what are we gonna stress ourselves out about what he's trying to go further and experiment? Why should we do that? I don't.
But he's not experimenting.
All right, but who cares?
Yeah,
What he's
exactly.
doing,
What's it to
man?
you, Neil? Let's
Like,
try with
let him
Neil.
do what he's doing.
We'll end with this. So, what's it to you? You said it's nothing personal, but okay. What about all the ghost hunters? And that's the usual example we use, right? I'm sure they're talking science when they ain't got any. What about the 1,000,001 globeheads that claim actual gravity with the rhetoric attached? You know, he's just another dude in that regard, right? Is that your answer?
I think it's.
Ah,
I
there was
think
a
he's.
file coming up.
Let Neil answer.
He's a very big
just let me
voice
get
in
an
the
answer
world.
from Neil. What's it to you?
What's that?
What's it to
It's
you?
nothing to me. I just like real people. You guys give me the truth. You ain't trying to push something. You're going by scientific method, natural law, and I like that. When people start trying to push ether and push gravity to the point where they deny people that do experiments, it bothers me a little bit. And when they talk about it, and he's talked about it more than 5 times that I can count, that he's mentioned Anthony's experiment, okay? It just bothers me.
I'm with you, Neil, on that. I'm absolutely with Neil, 100%. Absolutely. I couldn't be more with somebody.
Well, it bothers me a little too every now and then, but I don't go latch on to it.
If someone has to give you reasons why something is real, as opposed to actually showing it to you, it means it's not real. And that's what he's doing. And I don't care how much you trust him, or who likes him, or who doesn't like him. I don't trust him, and I never will.
Let's not bring our personal feelings into it. Just keep on subject. That I'm happy to discuss. In terms of the validity of what he offers, that's debatable. How you feel about it, I can't care. I don't care. You know, but when I say to Neil, what's it to you? And you say, well, it's because of my feelings when I hear him present the information to me as an individual. You don't have to have that information presented. That's your choice.
I think discussing what Bob raises is one thing. Speaking to his motivation and it does none of us any good. And I try and stay away from that. I'm happy to discuss the topics as they come up and the science that's there, the postulation that's there, and give my opinion on that. But I can't. I'm not in Bob's head. And I don't want to be. I don't want to be in anybody's head. I'm in my head, and these are my thoughts, and I'll discuss them. But I think anymore.
I agree with that. Let's keep the feelings out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
Me and Bob's the same. We've got Bob's made up with me recently in terms of not, and this is the point. It's not about kissing and making up we're going to be friends. It's about saying, look, we're both in this arena together. We're all here for a reason, and I'm bothering with this to try and wake more people up. And I'm sure with a positive, non-aggressive, doesn't mean we have to agree, but if we can behave in a more constructive manner between us, we can wake more people up. And that's why I'm here. I don't need to prove Bob right or wrong. I'm not bothered. I don't know. All I know is the things I do know. What I don't have is an answer. I'm not offended by somebody putting more trimming on it, and I don't agree with it. And I think if we learn anything, we can get a little bit too personal in this arena, and it does none of us any good. And I think the way Nathan's viewing it, and the way I'm viewing it, and to be fair to Bob, it was him that reached out. So I'm always, if any man apologises to me, I've always tried to be a big enough man to accept that apology and move forward.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay.
Just one more thing. So same applies. I said it earlier. On the third attempt, with me telling him to go screw himself, that takes some. Yeah, by that, I'm like, pfft. At that point, as I was indifferent anyway, it's like, yeah, okay, fine, I accept your apology.
Can I give a statement that I've been trying to do for 45 minutes
that
now?
I can
Hold on, let Flatsoid get his words in. Go on, Flatsoid.
Okay, I was trying to give a statement already when they were talking about specific gravity, but it's fine, I'll leave that. Just my thoughts on this. Why do you worry what other people are thinking? I mean, even my channel, I do stuff. I don't really give a rat's ass if you accept it or not. It's reality. That's why I demonstrate it. It's just your opinion at the end of the day. It would be a boring world if everybody thought the same things and accepted the same things.
Couldn't agree more.
I guess it's the Italian in me.
It's because he's Bob, right? Unfortunately for Bob Nodell, he's Bob Nodell. So he woke a lot of us up, and we all hold him in a lot of respect. And when we're in this position, which is fundamentally opposed to what we believe, we're a bit butthurt that Bob's not on our side.
That's what I was trying to get out of someone. I'm glad someone finally gave it me. Yeah. So when I'm asking you, why does this bother you so much? Well, that's exactly why. You're seeking his approval. You want Bob to be on your side, right? You want Bob to be toe-to-toe with you on the front line, your ally. That's really what you want. I was hoping someone would say, thank God Adam's here.
That's not it for me either.
That's not true for you.
That's not it. You crossed that guy.
I want to hear it. Hold on.
Your feelings are showing, Neil.
Stop.
You crossed that guy.
Calm down. Hello. Brian was first. You disagree, Brian?
Yeah, I don't care about his approval. It's that he's got a big voice, and he has been seen since that documentary as the main flat earth person, let's just say, in the world by the populace out there. He's got a big voice because of that, and he likes that attention. And he wants to be the boss of something. I'm not interested in someone who wants to be the boss. I'm interested in someone who naturally is the boss. And he is trying to be the boss when he's not. And I do not trust him. And it's
I feel like this is going into the realm of divining thoughts, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's... You know what I mean?
Listen,
like,
I'm a good judge of character.
Can we be better than that? Like,
yeah, I agree.
All right,
serious?
I'm done.
Like,
go on,
we'll flat out debate. Let's do it big.
I'm done. You'll never hear a word about Bob from me.
No, I'm asking specifically for you to do that right now as you were next in line. Get it all out. I'm asking you to.
Like I said, he thinks that he is the smartest guy in the block, the smartest man in the world. He wants to solve everything. And if somebody else comes up with something, oh, no. That's just the way. Listen, I got good discernment, and I discern him very well. And I don't trust him.
Oh, my God.
And that's it.
Chocolate, I should have just listened to you and... oh, God.
You know, I mean...
But I'll never say another word. That's it.
I'm playing advocate, guys, but I made one point, and both Neil and Brian retorted by saying how they know Bob is. That wasn't the point I was making. It was the point that Bob is a big figure, and I said I'm in this to change people's perceptions of the reality they're being fed, right? And Bob is a great ally, and it was disappointing for me, when I lost my spanner on Globebusters and that because you're a little bit of butthurt because someone's being horrible to you, but actually it's a diminishment of the tools we have to spread this. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And also, that's Bob from Globebusters. That's Nathan from Flat Earth Debate. Yeah. Those are people that actually, if you're in this arena, of course you go, wow, I've met Nathan. wow, I've met Bob. I did it from day one, 5 years ago. You know what I mean? So there's nothing wrong with appreciating that and maybe realizing that that's maybe why we're a bit more knocked at Bob's opinion and why Bob's opinion garners so much emotion. Like Flatswood said, he's probably put stuff up there and no one gives a fuck about any of his controversial stuff. Why?
Exactly. Exactly. You're only passionate about it, Neil, because you do care about Bob. Now, you might not like that, but that's just the way it is.
We've all got a lot to thank Bob for.
Right. Just don't let him bobber you so much.
I don't think so. He's a missing everything I said. That's okay.
Okay, well, Chocolate will round this little sewing circle meeting off, hopefully, with his last point. Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, I mean, I pretty much said what I was thinking. Like, I just don't feel like we need to go into the realm of, I don't like him because he's doing this, that, and the third. Like, let him do what he's doing, and let's do what we're doing. Right? He wants to go further to pursue the absolute cause of why things move the way they do. Fantastic, man. Hopefully he does it. I wish him the best. But I'm not going to lose sleep over what he's doing. What? That's not me.
Exactly. You can take or leave, chew the meat, spit out the bones. So you take or leave what you like from anybody you're encountering. And at the moment, we're juxtaposing the current scenario in our actual fabricated matrix world with the stats and epidemiological studies that people are being presented and telling people it's translatable. How science applies to this is no different. Well, you can apply that anywhere, to anybody, and that should be enough for you to go, I don't accept this. But then that's just you and your acceptance of something one man has said. But you're passionate about it, and you don't want to accept that that's because you value that person's camaraderie and want them on the same side as you, which is understandable.
I just want them to use his voice for truth and not be pushing nonsense that he can't prove. And not be putting down things not be putting down things that we can't prove. And
okay, did he take Anthony's experiment and say, "Wow, okay, that worked, but let's go a little further"? No, he did not.
No, I just dismissed it.
Yep.
Right.
What do you mean he just dismissed it? What does that mean?
He didn't even know what it was to chocolate. He thought it was Einstein stuff. Remember?
Yeah, he equates Anthony with Einstein. He doesn't even know when Anthony refers to Einstein. He's not agreeing with him.
No, that's all that relativity talk. I'm talking about the experiment itself. What did he have a problem with the experiment?
He didn't even give it time of day. He didn't even address it. It was just, as far as he was concerned, it was just pushing relative general relativity. He didn't even know what relative density equilibrium was.
General relativity.
That's what he thought.
So Sleeping Warrior manipulated general relativity in his experiment instead of actually putting salt in some water.
This was his position. This was his position. You go back a year ago or so, that was his position. He never even gave it the time of day. That's not a good person to be a spokesperson for a whole group of people in the world who are trying to fight back against the biggest lie there ever was.
And has it had a detrimental effect? Has it hindered your understanding or progression of this conversation in debate or otherwise?
It has had a detrimental effect, I think.
Okay. Can you qualify or quantify it in some way?
Well, I'll use the best example there is, your show, Nathan. This show is about being honest and being true. What we can prove, what is provable, what isn't provable. And your show suffered because of his actions. So truth suffered because of his actions.
How? How did it suffer?
Well, less people know the truth.
What, because he's not shouting me out?
Yeah.
So what?
Did you not lose a lot of subs over
Hold
that?
on. What the hell has that got to do
but that's
with the argument about gravity having a
What is this, guys?
Guys, I can't believe
Why
it.
are you pushing Nathan to push him away?
No.
I didn't do that. I didn't say that, Erwin. There's none of that going on. Why are you putting that
turn
in
it back
there?
into a
I'm
sewing
asking Nathan
circle.
to do anything.
Guys, no, let's not go back to the sewing circle. We just got away from it. How does this relate to the argument about gravity? How we debunk it? How we've kicked the 105-year rhetoric to the side in the last 6 months? All of that stuff. Is there anything he says that has a direct detrimental effect on what you do, how you live your life, how you communicate with others, or anything alike?
No, even a little bit.
Well, you hurt my feelings really bad.
So who cares? Just leave him be. Who cares? If you don't like it, stop watching.
But Nathan, you cared.
No. At the time, and to this day, people come in and quote Netflix. Bob proved drift. That needed addressing. And I did. For that reason, specifically. I didn't want to, believe me, because it had a detrimental... And that's what you're saying, it had a detrimental effect on my channel. That is not what we're discussing in a sewing circle right now. We're talking specifically about gravity. That's the only bad blood that's left. As much as you might want to drag it back in from the sidelines, I'm laughing because it's not going to happen. There is no bad blood as far as I can... It's dissipated, thanks to Bob and his tenacious effort to make up. So that bit's never going to be brought back in. But the bad blood about gravity, if there's no detrimental effect, it's just his beliefs that he's punting to his audience, more power to him. He's entitled to his beliefs. If you don't like them, that's on you, not him.
I don't mind what beliefs anyone has, Nathan.
But
when that person is a spokesperson to the world for me, I have a problem with it.
So there it is. There it is.
When he speaks,
let Brian speak.
He has an influence, Arwen. He has an influence.
Everybody
He's
has
well known. He was in a documentary, for God's sake.
Brian.
And because of that, everybody knows that the ballers claim that the Earth spins 50 degrees. So,
Owen, Brian summed it up because he's a spokesperson for me. So that's the disappointment that we all felt, yeah? Because he is, we used to quote him, yeah? And now you're unsure, yeah, on that because he's a spokesperson for you as you described him, yeah?
Right, you're all...
In your psyche,
it's right, you're all, apart from Chocolate and maybe a couple of others, just need slapping back into line, you bunch of bloody girls. What's your problem? Like, no, I'm dead serious.
He has been offered another documentary.
Your spokesperson, like with Roxanne.
Exactly. Let's get to that.
Since when do you need a spokesperson?
God, dramatic speech coming up. Can't you detect it? Shut up. Right, like with Roxanne, are you going to sit and moan about the guy behind the velvet rope has been on Panorama and he's on BBC News night after night and the people are looking to him like he's the leader. He was my spokesperson. No, so what? So be that spokesperson, be that person that people look to. If you find that your spokesperson isn't representative of you, then don't be involved with them.
But it's not that I made him my spokesperson. He became a spokesperson for all of us when he was in a big time documentary in 2018.
No, that's not true. That's simply not true. You're making it that way because it's only from your vantage point that you can give it. You can't make that baseless generalization. It's you that has this opinion. Now, as soon as you start pointing that finger back at yourself, you'll recognize that this is you and your feelings about how Bob is your spokesperson. You've even voiced it. Adam said it very specifically. Okay. Well, that's on you, I'm afraid. Man up. Be that spokesperson if you want to take that place. But if you don't like it, walk away from it and let it not affect your life anymore. Man up. A lot of you.
I'm not bothered about Bob.
Yeah, don't give me this shit. You're not going to tell me about how bothered you are.
Offer me the documentaries then and I'll do them.
You're about to tell me how bothered you are.
But they're not offering me those things, Nathan. I'm not getting offered these documentaries. Bob is. And Bob is going to go out there and say gravity is
Brian,
real.
stop a second. You've just told me I'm not bothered by Bob, and now you're about to do the same thing third time in a row where you launch into how bothered by Bob you are.
No, it's not. It's the fact that he's going to be in the position to do the speaking, and he's going to say something. He's going to say the wrong thing,
And it's going to affect us all.
Yes.
And that's going to make a geometric horizon real.
Exactly, chocolate.
No. But what I'm saying is
I'm
when
glad
you
you're
try to
here.
speak to somebody, they're going to go right to... Look, when that Netflix first happened, how many people I tried to talk to and they laughed in your face and they told you flat out to prove it? Yes.
Stop
and it turned out to be good,
juxtaposing. Stop
Nathan.
it, Neil. Stop juxtaposing Netflix going out to millions with Bob on Globebusters, right? These things are not comparable. That's why Anthony's presumably shut up, right? These things aren't comparable. He's just one dude
But I'm telling you,
online
when
with
you
his
tried to speak
opinions.
to somebody, they brought you right back to that. He's gonna do it again. You watch.
Look, if someone comes to you, people that come to tell me, oh, you're just a Nathan Oakley fanboy the whole time, I just tell them, leave them out of it. I'm talking for myself. You just be a man and you say out straight. I make my own deductions and I have my own arguments. Straight.
Yeah, and that's what we do. But you got to get through the shit first because of what he did.
If you have,
now, if
good for
somebody
you.
says you're a Nathan Oakley parrot, I wear it as a badge of honor.
Fine,
you're freaking right, I am.
If you see the shit in this instance, I'm not casting my opinions either way on Bob's decisions or way of, because I don't know what he's doing. In that respect, I'm not paying attention to it because I don't like it either. Now, I'm putting my cards on the table so that you can at least have some empathy for the people who are feeling this way. But I'm still saying the same thing applies. It's down to you to say, do I accept it and what grounds do I accept it on? If not, you reject it, you chew the meat and spit out the bones. Now, if you still want to engage with that particular channel, which is not Netflix, I might add, it's not having some mass appeal. Now, if you're never going to let that go for Bob, right, that again is on you. And it's sad. You got to eventually let that go. I'll say it now, and this might get me, I can't believe I'm doing this. Okay, Bob made a mistake, yeah? Now, he has had the shit end of that stick for quite a long time, and it's finally turning around for him. And I want to be an influence on that, right? I want to take that shitty, horrible pile of crap that I had to go and sacrifice a load of subscribers and sacrifice a load of respect from people who like Bob to address that particular issue with lots of people paying attention to it on Netflix, right? Because it needed to be addressed. Now, out of that pile of garbage, that manure has come one single rose. That rose is understanding that Earth's supposed to be turning underneath at 15 degrees now. That's all the good that's come out of it. Now, I can take that one rose and look at it for the beautiful rose that it is, or I can focus on some old decaying garbage at the bottom of the heap. Now, it's up to
he's
you which
about
one
ready
you
to do it again. That's what I'm saying. And who knows what's going to happen.
Oh, my God.
Quantum Eraser said he had a problem with flat earthers who were going out spewing out a lot of nonsense because they were representing him every time they said that, because he was also a flat earther. So every time that flat earther said something ridiculous, they were representing him. So that's why he had so many enemies in the flat earth, because he came down hard on flat earthers.
He's not here to ask the question, but it'd be interesting to find out.
I wish he was.
Yeah, me too.
I would prefer he was.
Yeah, because that bit him in the ass.
Well, I'm not in a position.
You'll see. You'll see.
It's not about the next topic that comes up, whether we're going to agree or disagree on it, because the Ether Wars are coming. So
it sounds like a Star Wars movie.
Exactly, it's like the Clone Wars, mate. The Ether Wars, they'll be coming soon, and that's going to elicit huge debate on both sides when that kicks off. But it's not about that. I think the point is that Bob's opinion, is as valid as yours, Neil. And when I'm listening to you both talk, they carry the same weight. It's a recognition. We've got to stop putting him on a pedestal. We're upset because you put him on a pedestal, and he's now no longer held. You're looking at your Messiah and saying, "Oh no, he's not doing what I thought he was going to do." He's not got nailed to the cross.
Be your own
He's
hero.
right off. Yeah?
Be your own hero.
Just let Adam finish. Go ahead, Adam. But you're right. Be your own hero, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And place Bob's opinion with the merit that it deserves, which is equal to your own and mine and Nathan's and Brian's. Yeah? And when we realise that he isn't a spokesperson, but he's a pioneer who... we can all work together and get this message out, even if we disagree on certain areas, then that's the way forward to me. And I'll echo Nathan, and I was happy to leave it. Fuck it, you know what I mean? But it was Bob that got off his arse and said, no, and that to me is a measure of a man. And I respected that. And that's why I'm moving forward with respect and speaking now and airing my opinions on how I'm moving forward. Say you do, but that's how I'm doing it.
Yeah, personal to you.
I'll just agree and say that, you know what, after the shit that happened between Bob and Nathan and QE, like the fact that Bob could even actually man up and try to apologize and offer, you know, some type of olive branch, I think that's props, man.
I agree.
That's you know, doesn't mean I'm his best friend, but you know, you gotta respect when, you know, a man says, you know what, look, my bad. Let's move forward from this point. I can respect that. The shit out of that.
I look at it the other way. He's got an olive branch in one hand and a dagger in the other.
All right, well, when he comes at you with the dagger, you rip the arm off. How about that?
That might be the case, exactly. You chew the meat, spit the bones, same thing applies. So, yeah, if you want to be cognizant that something he say might not be agreeable to you, well, that'll be in the back of your mind as a result, and that's of a detriment to Bob. But that's not my problem, my audience's problem. It's not something that we need to go after with pitchforks, in my opinion. You know, it's not a big deal if he's got a different opinion about bloody gravity is. You know, okay, yeah, we can debate it, but when we get into the, oh, but he's influencing these people and, you know, I don't trust him and it's, oh, God. No, I'm more than happy to debate all day about the validity that we can offer with science to any claims that are making or being made about phenomena we apparently observe. And that's what we'll discuss here. And the people who take that and are still, you know, really, really pleased with what they get from both sides of the fence, if you want to see it as opposing sides, globebusters and ballbusters. Well, no, I don't really view it that way anymore. Now, at the time, there was a time that was exactly how everyone else around me viewed it. And fine, if that was the case, then that feud doesn't have any battleground for me on this subject. I've got my understanding about how you validate phenomena in science. Now, if Bob just decides that that's not relevant, and that's what I'm hearing from you guys that's fussing you, okay, so what? Does that mean that when you hear it, you'll go, well, that's not valid science? Well, I put that to Bob. It got him very angry, and I went, okay, now that time has passed, okay, well, I better not scratch that bear. The guy's on my side, after all. We have opposing views on this. Do I want to poke the bear on that? Do I fuck? I didn't want to do it when it was Netflix. I don't want to do it now. Don't poke the bear, right? I know where I'm going to get scratched. But what's the worthy nature of getting scratched? That's the point, right? This is a debating subject. Will I more than happily debate the subject? Yeah. Do I want to make it personal about someone on my own side anymore? No, definitely not. And I'm sure he doesn't either. He's told me that. So I've got to respect that. And when it comes to essentially fighting Bob's corner, which is what I'm now doing, I'm going to do it. Because I'm like, well, it's a bit of give and take, isn't it? He's given, I've taken. Now I've got to give a little bit back and say, okay, guys, you've got to man up. If you don't agree with his opinions, tough luck. Move on. It's not comparable to Netflix. It's not something we all need to pounce on. He's just another guy. He's not a shill. He's not controlled fucking opposition. It's absurd. Just another guy. Take it or leave it.
Well, and I think, Nathan, just to follow on, the fight I'm in is the fight to prove that we're not on a spinning space pair. Too many astros with these teeth. What I'm not here to do is disprove Bob Nodell's viewpoint of the world, right or incorrect. If he speaks on a subject, I'll discuss that subject, but I'm not here to prove whether or not Bob has the best worldview or not. He's welcome to his, and I'm welcome to mine, and there'll be points of match and points of difference. And hopefully we move forward with those, just like we do with every bugger else's.
Or Arwin. Arwin's comparable directly to Bob in this example. Now, at the end of a discussion with Arwin about something that he's using conceptualizations to detail how it could be, and makes it all clear that it only could be how he's conceptualizing it. He gives all the disclaimers. Yeah. Often we don't agree with him. But do we at the end of it call him a shill and controlled opposition and here to... No, we just don't agree with him. And he won't agree with us more often than not when we say we disagree. And that's how it should be, on topic, but nothing more.
Yeah, but Arwen is ace.
Well, I'll throw something out here now, and it's up to yourselves whether you're interested.
Bob is also ace.
Bob is
also ace, if you want to say.
Also Ed?
No, Bob is also ace.
Us, like a champion, like a number one. You can say for Bob that, my God.
You just cheerleading. Yeah, okay. Bob's number one. Woo! Go ahead, Brian.
No, in a sense, Nathan. In a sense, Nathan. From Bob, you can. If you watched Globbuster from the beginning and everything till that happened, till that fight happened about what he said, that ether or ether or that drift or shits.
Okay.
But before that, he was flat earther and he is now flat earther all the time.
I get the summary, but I don't see your point. I understand what you've summarised, but I don't understand what your point
No,
of summarising.
no, that story about Bob Nodell, it's a past. It's nothing to do with. He cannot change my opinion with his. He can say ether, it's doing something. I will say no, and that's it.
Yeah, well summarised. Thank you. Glad I asked. Brian, did you want to go ahead?
Seems like lots of people have expectations of Bob.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Well said, Rams. I'm glad I let you go. Go ahead, Brian. Well said.
Nathan, can I make a statement? Okay. I am willing, right, to have a one-on-one debate with Bob. And you can be the moderator if you want, or someone else can be the moderator. I will fight for relative density equilibrium. And he can fight for whatever he says is happening. I am willing to do that. If he wants to do that.
But that requires...
But he probably doesn't.
It requires a bit of trust, right? Now, this is something I'll take responsibility for. So the little bit of trust that was there when I went on Globuster's show was shattered because I had to take apart part of his argument. Now, in order to be in a position to debate Bob one-on-one, he had to have a trust that was shattered. That's probably why he was most pissed at me, because I took advantage from his perspective. I'm not saying I did. I'm saying I did what I needed to do. But from his perspective, it's like you've taken advantage. You've come on my show to say I'm wrong and show my audience how I'm wrong. That's unreasonable. You've taken a trust that I allowed you to exploit when you came on my show. Now, I'd be fuming if that was me, so I completely empathise with Bob. But my point is that in order to do that, let's juxtapose it with Arwen rather than Bob. I've got to have a certain level of trust with Arwen as my opponent to do that on a friendly level, where it's not discerning into what we actually have in the genuine debate, where it's an actual at stake people's paradigm. They think they're on a ball subject, right? We're not talking about that. We talk about his perception and his belief in a subset of a subcategory, which is gravity. So in that respect, well, you might be able to debate Bob, but you'd have to be his mate. You'd have to get on his side. You'd have to build up a bit of trust to put yourself in that position. Now, for me, luckily, that bridge from my side of the chasm that was created between me and Bob, you can see me stuttering over this now. People are probably going to trim this out, right? That chasm has to have a bridge built from me as well. Now, I wasn't willing to do it. I pissed it back straight in Bob's face when he extended the olive branch. But it means that I've got to accept where I would be perceived to be wrong in Bob's eyes and have the empathy and the gumption to say, okay, yeah, I understand that was me abusing Bob's trust in me. But you've got to have it in the first place. So to be able to be in that position, maybe make friends with him. Maybe try and meet him on common ground that you do agree on. So that, like Arwen has done, Arwen described right at the beginning of this conversation how he's not treated like a troll in Globusters. How that they're warming to him. That's where Arwen might, 6 months or whenever, say, hey, by the way, Bob, I don't really agree with you on whatever. Can we discuss it? Because I've got some very differing opinions on it, and I think it'd be interesting. And he might go, yeah, I'd love to. I don't think I've heard your opinions. I definitely think you're wrong, Arwen. But you'd have to have that kind of relationship. Yeah? Now, one day, maybe Bob and I will build the bridge strong enough so that could happen again. But at the moment, it's a meh from me and a olive branch from him that's been accepted. So there's no more bad blood recreated. I know that's a very, very elongated point, but the fact that you would require trust from him to achieve that, Brian, do you understand that?
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. I do understand that he wouldn't just debate me if the trust wasn't there. But in my experience of listening to Bob over the past 5 years, is that anyone who goes against, whether they be on his panel or not, anyone that goes against what he deems as reality, he will not address them. He will not have any. He will not address it. He will not have any debate on the subject.
Right,
he doesn't
Brian,
debate.
Can I ask you a question? Is Bob right or wrong with regards to relative density?
He's 100% wrong.
So why do you need to prove that to anyone else? Just move on.
But it's not about proving. It's not about me proving that he's wrong about relative density, Adam. It's about the offer is there for Bob to show that he's willing to actually debate or speak or converse about the subjects. And he doesn't do that. He never has. Anyone who says anything that goes against what he believes, I listened to Glowbusters for several years, he just shuts them down, doesn't want to know. He's not going to debate anyone on relative density equilibrium. He's not interested. And that's the thing. I'm interested in debating him on what he believes, but he doesn't want to know about what I believe. That's the problem.
Fair enough.
Yep.
It's his prerogative.
Either agree with him or you're gone.
Well, no. It's your prerogative whether or not he decides to debate you. No, that's his prerogative.
I think if I'm being honest, Neil's criticism is a little way why me and Bob fell out. So yeah, I'd agree with that, and that is a criticism of Bob, and I think he's probably aware of that. That's again, it's a personal thing. Agree with him or you got, or just don't engage with Bob and carry on doing what we're here to do. But yeah, I'd probably support that, Neil. But
another thing I was thinking is
that's something that I have to accept. That why am I seeking Bob's validation? Why does it matter that Bob's took my spanner away? That yeah, it's like because we put him on a pedestal. So remove that and move forward and remember why we're here. Yeah, and I'm speaking like Nathan from personal experience of dealing with this, and it does make you realise that even on our side, this personality bollocks has got nothing to do with waking people up, which is why we're here. Yeah, not to prove Bob right or wrong. We know Bob's opinion. I have my viewpoint on it. Brian has his. Yeah, lovely. We don't need to debate Bob, and Bob doesn't debate. I've never seen Bob debate. I've seen him do a show every week where he gives his opinion.
You have something to add? Well said, Adam. And yeah, good. Rams, did you want to add something? You've been trying to get a word in for a while. Go, Rams, go.
I was just saying, what would be in it for Bob to debate anyone?
Precisely. Take the Simon Dan approach. What's in it for me? It's not going to benefit me, right? And he'd be right. I mean, I'm going to take it away from Bob and use Simon Dan as the example, but sensible. As much as I hate giving him props for it, the less said, the better, right? Get into a debate, you're only going to end up looking bad, especially if you already know the outcome because you've declared it to us. You know what I mean? In Simon Dan's case. But yeah, less said, the better. Why? What's in it for him? Well, absolutely nothing.
I got a question.
Go on.
Where is Sleeping Warrior? He started this whole thing.
He does that. That's his MO.
Yeah.
He won't be
he sat there laughing on mute.
Playing his video game.
I'm glad he brought it up. I think clearly by you guys that aren't personally involved in all of this, it's clearly affecting the community. And I think when this airs, it'll be good to be heard about how we've moved on, grown up and moved on, because it's all butt hurtness, all of it.
So you don't think there's a certain responsibility that people have? If you're a voice, you have a certain responsibility.
No.
Especially if you're representing something.
He's got a bigger responsibility to be true to himself and give his viewpoint on the world and be honest to that, and not change his viewpoint because other people disagree with it. If that's his viewpoint, then it's for me to either accept or disagree with, but not do anything other than that. He's entitled.
Yeah, but he's giving us another just so story, is what I'm trying to say. We've had.
Is he giving that just so story to you? Is he trying to convince you that just so story is reality?
No, I have no idea. I haven't watched the show in ages.
So there you go. You just answered the whole point, Neil. Why you even put the energy into it to be as negative as you are right now about this particular situation? Not saying that you're a negative guy, but this particular situation with this particular person, why even let it bother you?
That's it. It's the application of your energy.
I can take you back, but you won't like the answer, so I won't even go there.
No, go on. We're asking.
Go ahead, bro.
I'm still pissed off at the way he treated Nathan on that show, okay? There you have it.
Isn't that sweet?
I am not.
And I understand that.
Hold on,
but,
Brian wants to slap that compliment down and say, look, I don't give a shit how he treated Nathan.
I know you don't.
I'm just saying, man, I understand what you mean, but, at this point, we're not at the same point, right? Like, we moved on. It's 2020. 2020 is almost done, right? Like, let's move past that. And even the guy himself that you're talking about has tried to move past that. And you're kind of trying to just keep it back in the day, man, the old and busted, right? Let's move to the new hotness, bro. You know what I mean?
Got it, Chocolate. I've moved on.
What me and Neil,
I'm not saying forget.
Neil, listen this
I'm just
about
saying,
about one woman. Nathan, do you remember that woman about what was near to? She was trolled from the flat earth. Your friend.
Who, Patricia?
Yeah.
What about her?
One question about this: does Globers trolled Patricia?
No more than anybody else. She had more problems from her own side.
We can say that flat Earth has destroyed Patricia. With their comments and everything.
That's a completely random subject to throw in here. I don't know how to react to that.
But she was attacked more from the flat earthers than from the globe earthers.
That's correct.
What are you trying to say? We're attacking Bob? Are you trying to say
I've just seen your segue.
And that's just some other nonsense I don't understand.
Bob is not.
Patricia.
What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, it's not a situation. It's a completely different situation.
It is a very different situation. But by the same token, the parallel that he's trying to draw, I see where I didn't see his point, but now it's had it highlighted by whoever that was. Yeah, I see the parallel. It's like we're attacking our own side when it could very easily be overlooked because it isn't very detrimental. We know what the overall rhetoric in terms of gravity is. That's what most of the Western world are under the impression of. So Bob's ideas about it, they're not really that consequential to us.
Can I just say something? I'm going to try and speak for me and Neil. Right now, Neil, you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? Me and Neil are not trying to stir up trouble. We're not trying to stir up hate. We both want flat Earth to move forward. We don't want arguments. But our spidey senses are always tingling. I think Neil and me are similar in that way. And we're just saying, be cautious.
That's
be very
all.
cautious.
So just to be clear, you don't want an argument. But should Bob want an argument, he can get in touch with you for a debate. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm offering the opportunity for him to prove his beliefs.
I'm mocking you.
I'm not going to be calling them names or any nonsense. Yeah, I know.
I'll give you a perfect example, and then I'll let it go at this.
Witsit gets it. Love the kid. Very smart, very good debater. He believes that there's an ether. I have no problem with him because of the way he presents it. Okay, it's all about the presentation.
So it's all about your personal feelings about the presenter. That would be Bob Nodal. So it is very specifically personal to Bob then.
I think names are weird also.
You guys have got such a wonderful way
of backwards.
Getting so close to a cogent reasoning behind your argument and then shattering it into oblivion with one sentence. So completely personal then, Neil.
Yeah, absolutely. I never said it wasn't.
Fair enough.
Never heard me say it wasn't personal.
I think Nathan.
What will happen when they move from that argument to the radius?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point. Exactly. What's it got to do with the argument? If it is on topic and we can have a friendly debate about it internally because it's an aside issue versus the Western world's belief about it, that's quite interesting to an audience. Oh, right, different flat earthers have got a different idea because they're hopefully edging towards actually having some real answers rather than the bullshit we're told about gravity. But that's our main focus. So a side issue is someone else has got a different idea about it for their channel and their followers. Fair enough. More power to you.
And do not what?
Yeah, but back it up.
You can debate.
Back it up.
You can debate, Bob, and you will find out that you are disagree in 1 point and that you agree on 99 points.
Exactly.
And both ends.
Exactly.
Yep.
Adam, you were trying to get something in there? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think just I'm probably being a little excessive, but I think raising the Patricia Sear thing, thinking about Mark Sargent, people's reactions to him, I think as woke as the flat earth community is, it does still seem subject to the cult of celebrity. And I think, yeah.
No problem, Mark Sargent.
Hold on, you have to expand on that a bit. What do you mean?
I think in this, you see what I mean? I've got no problem with Mark Sargent speaking for me. We're still elevating people in the way that the current paradigm works. The world we live in, the bullshit world we live in, we're still operating like that. And I said, for me, it's chocolate somebody. It's about where you put your energy now, not really who you back. It's where you put your energy. That's the most important thing. And when I talk about the cult of celebrity, I mean, look at the reactions to Bob. Look at the reactions. Patricia Steele was the one that made me think about it. It was vile what went off there, you know. And that was all, as somebody said, flat earthers turning in on themselves. And why? What did it have to do with flat earth? All those things? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that showed to me a kind of cult of celebrity where we're distracted by the inconsequential bollocks that goes off when the reason we're in flat earth was, like I said, again, to spread that truth and to wake people up from the ball, not to turn on somebody because of all of the nonsense that Patricia went through or because Mark Sargent's doing a silly app that he deserves berating. We don't have a government, a body. We are individuals sharing our truth. And if we just do that and keep our energy there, then that's what got us to where we are today.
Yes, we are all individuals. And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's extended after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.